and welcome to America's Day at the Races. It's sponsored by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. You see beautiful Oaklawn Park, a little sunnier there that afternoon there at Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we're joining you here from the set. A little gravelly right now, but Chris Griffin joined by, of course, analyst, handicapper, jockey, well-known, Richard Migliore.
Great to be here with you, Chris, and I'm convinced you're going to warm up out of that. We're going to be fine. Yeah, a little bit of a dreary day in the metropolitan area today, a little rain, sleet, snow mix, but looks like sunny and nice, the racing we're covering, so we'll just let that sunshine in and warm us from afar.
Yeah, we're just going to thaw out a little bit and get things going. We got great racing action from Oaklawn Park. Of course, we're going to welcome in Paul LaDuca later on this afternoon, but taking a look at today's card, when we look at some of the racing action that is coming your way, you've got the 5th through the 10th from Oaklawn Park. We've got the return of the Honeybee Grade 3 winner in Lemon Muffin, young Keith Asmussen aboard, Dwayne Lucas connecting there. Then we've got our feature race, taking a look at the 9th this afternoon. And then we go over to Tampa Bay, Oldsmar, Florida. We've got races 6 through 9, and that'll be a late pick 4, fast and firm conditions. Must be sunny out there as well.
A great atmosphere at Tampa Bay Downs. If you've never been, it feels like almost like a country fair, very quaint, great racing, and a terrific turf course as well as a terrific dirt course. A course that gives a lot of foundation, puts a lot of bottom into horses.
Let's take a look at that 9th race, the feature race for our programming today. That is going to be Oaklawn, $133,000 purse for an allowance race. Scratching the 1 in Ray's Kane, scratching the 8 in Osborne. But we do take a look at the number 3 and banishing 5-1 in the morning line. Probably that price comes down a little bit with the 2 scratches. What do you think about this effort? This is back on November 23rd at Churchill Downs. What do you think of this winning effort from Banishing?
Oh, this was a really nice winning effort, and he's more of a closing sprinter type. Of course, last time at Churchill with this win was going 7 furlongs, and he was pretty much on top of them by the 8th pole, which would be 6 furlongs. But I think that's a big question for me. A horse that's never started at the distance, how he's going to handle a sharply run 6 furlong race as opposed to that 7 furlongs at Churchill.
Yeah, we'll see how the Banishing performs. Ricardo Santana Jr. will be aboard. And then another contender in there, you take a look at the number 7 in Tejano Twist. And looking at this effort, this is back in the Whitmore. This is back in March, so we got to go way back a little bit. But this is something you will see from these horses at Hot Springs. Some of those layoffs, but what do you think of this effort?
I like this horse a lot. He's honest. He's another closing sprinter type. I look for horses that have shown an affinity for the course at Oaklawn Park. He's run there 8 times, 3 wins, 4 seconds, and a third. And he's also very good at the 6 furlong distance. He's got that devastating kind of late kick, and he just missed there, but he did everything but win. I mean, it was only an inch. He probably thought he won.
Wow. Big closing kick right there. We'll see if the track does tend to play to that sunny day again at Oaklawn. We'll see what happens in that 9th race feature. Don't forget, when you do get involved in the action, you can do it with Naira Bets. You can join Naira Bets today, play the action on our program, and while you're earning up to a $200 deposit match bonus. You can sign up with the promo bonus 200 and earn up to $200 deposit match after your first deposit. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Join now at nairabets.com to earn your $200 deposit match. Break time here. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to come back and talk about a classic winner, 3-year-old champ. Maybe we're going to talk Sierra Leone when we come back with more. For Mig, myself, and here on America's Day at the Races. And welcome back to America's Day at the Races, and a little bonus coverage here. We get the 4th race from Oaklawn Park. We've got a maiden claiming $50,000 race coming up. Scratch of the 4 in Zapping Strike, but a nice field in here. You do take a look at good favorite in Skelly Road and the 2, Keith Asmussen aboard, who we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But we can't do it alone from just here at the desk in New York. We got to find a little help, and of course, that's our man Paul LaDuca. He's down there at Hot Springs, Arkansas. All the coverage all season long, and I think we're going to bring in Paul right now. There he is to come in and talk about all the great racing action there at Oaklawn Park. Looks like a nice day, maybe a little chilly. You got the jacket on, but the 4th race is coming up. What's going on, Paulie?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day out here, Chris. Good to see you as well. Sun is out, but wait till that sun goes down. It's in the 40s right now. I would think it's going to go down into the 30s. We get a bonus race here. So in race number 4, the horses are going to the gate. I really thought it was a 2-horse race between the 2 and the 6. Now, the 2 for the Asmussen crew is a horse that did win last time out in the maiden claiming ranks, and then comes back here in this spot. Is the horse to beat. I do think the 6 Max Lux, who's taking a ton of money here to 3-1, is a quality opponent. Big scratch of the 4 in here, but they got to beat the 2. I think the 2 is the horse to beat, but I'll take a little bit of a shot with the 6. McLean Robertson, pretty good trainer, Chris, and you get a little bit better value than the favorite, but I thought it was these 2 horses.
Thanks, Paul. We'll have more coming up later on. Let's see what's going to happen here. We're right up on post time here. Race number 4. Quick thought before we jump.
I thought the 1 was a little interesting as well. Go West Go with 1 start at Remington could improve off of that, dropping from the maiden allowance to maiden 50.
All right, we'll see what happens here. It's the 4th race from Oaklawn Park. Matt Dinnerman, track announcer, with the call.
We're ready to go. And they're off. Matt's Luck stumbled at the break, and so did Go West Go from the inside post. Let's Go Champ up on the pace. It's pretty contentious, though. Skelly Road is there as well. Gold Member and Museum Quality in the 3-path. Those 4 tussle as they head down the backstretch, with World Fair setting up shop right behind them. Gap of 4 to First Bid, the gray horse, in the 3rd last position. Go West Go is 2nd to last, and Matt's Luck being encouraged to pick it up already at the back of the field as they go into the far turn. Gold Member clearing off from the competition and kicks on, gets to the fence, accelerates and leads a length and a half. Skelly Road will attempt to do his best running later. He takes back to 2nd. He's on the fence in a pocket now. Museum Quality is outside of him, rounding the far turn run, and here comes World Fair between horses as they come to the top of the lane. Far outside, Go West Go's putting in a charge from the back of the field. Go West Go is unleashed, and Go West Go grabs the lead from the back of the field. Skelly Road on the inside, making up some ground now, passing horses, and on the far outside, it's First Bid. Go West Go, furlong left, a length and a quarter ahead. First Bid on the outside, 2nd, reeling him in. Ghost West Go keeps going from First Bid. It's going to be tight. Here's the line. Very tight. A photo finish between First Bid and Go West Go. 3rd home in the race was Skelly Road, and then Gold Member.
And there was Go West Go looking just to hold on with the oncoming rush here from First Bid. It was tight at the finish, but looked like 1A pretty clearly.
I think the 1 held off the outright. It's a bit of an odd angle, so I'm always a little reluctant to try to call photos at Oaklawn, but looking at that, it sure does look like the 1 Go West Go, who had a compromised beginning and made a big run around the turn, opened up a clear lead, and then had to hold off the late rush of number 8, First Bid, with apprentice Tyler Bacon aboard, who has been kind of impressing with his rides there.
Yeah, we're just talking about Tyler Bacon here when we just sat on the set and then taking a look at the start, and you notice something right out of the gate, and it is going to involve your possible winner there if the 1 did get up.
Yeah, keep an eye on the 1. Look, he kind of half bobbled, and he lost his stirrup actually the first jump. Did you see the way his left leg went down long on the horses? And he did a really good job of being able to get his stirrup back without using his hands. That's all leg strength, putting yourself up with your other leg that is in the stirrup, and then being able to find that stirrup with your toe, basically. You're not putting your whole foot in the stirrup. See, he was back a little further than I thought he would, but boy, what a big run he put in around the far turn. Like I said, to open up a clear lead in the stretch, and I'm waiting for that photo because I've been burned by that angle, but I did think, well, there it is. He did hang on at 8-1, and I thought he was a horse with normal improvement from his first start to his second start, made him a contender.
We saw 2 horses come from pretty far off the pace. We did see Skelly Road waiting patiently in behind horses, goes down to the rail. What'd you think of that tactic there? Ends up running third, but maybe not quite the closing kick we expected.
You know, I was watching as the race was unfolding, and Keith Asmussen is a very, very patient rider, and he won't move early to preserve position. So he sat the pocket when those first few runners made that first move on the outside of him. The rail opened up. He had his chance. Now, I don't know, and it's something we'll keep an eye on as the day goes forward, if maybe the inside's not the place to be. At least this race was dominated by two closers on the outside. Maybe they were just the two best horses, but something to keep in mind.
You caught 8-1 there on the winner. If you did catch the one, Go West Go was dropping from maiden special weight down to maiden 50 feet out of the irons. Didn't show the same speed. Still ends up in the winner's circle. That class drop does the trick. Tyler Bacon. We'll have more on America's Day at the Races when we come back.
Spun to Run. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more, and he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Now, this multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, and Breeders' Cup champion is passing his remarkable talent along to his progeny.
Night Beacon airs at the home of Spun to Run's Breeders' Cup victory.
Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at nairabets.com.
Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. Elite Power to the front. At the 16th pole, Gunite is second, but Elite Power is moving clear and going to take the rear dirt sprint by a widening margin.
5-5 all evading at 875 down 900 and 900,000.
Elite Power does it again in the Breeders' Cup sprint at 108.34.
The power of Juddmonte.
There's a big, bold, beautiful world waiting to be explored by you and your friends, of course. But not just any friends, the best of friends. The kind of friends who let you do you. Because in this world, it's positive vibes only. And when you get in the zone here, you stay a while. These aren't just good times, they're the best of times. And your time is now. So come explore. Resorts World.
There have been high aspirations for Sierra Leone since he first came to the racetrack, and he lived up to those expectations to start his 3-year-old campaign with wins in the Risen Star and Bluegrass. He went into the first Saturday in May as the second choice and ran to his odds, finishing a nose short of capturing the Run for the Roses. The son of gun runner spent the summer coming up just short in many of the biggest races, hitting the board in the Belmont Stakes, Jim Dandy, and Travers. He finally broke through when it mattered most, making a big move on the turn and storming home to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Did Sierra Leone do enough to take home champion 3-year-old or Horse of the Year honors?
And there you see Sierra Leone and that resume from 2024. You take a look at those wins, 2 Grade 1 wins. Of course, the Breeders' Cup Classic jumps right off the page, Richie, but you talked about the Risen Star, and then those seconds and thirds. And this overall resume, now the question becomes, award season and where this horse ranks as far as the 3-year-old champion title and so forth.
Yeah, listen, he's very consistent. He did not run a bad race all year. In some of his races, he compromised himself with those bad habits of wanting to lug in, lay on top of horses. And the Breeders' Cup Classic obviously carries a tremendous amount of weight. Although to me this year, a race dominated by 3-year-olds, it kind of, to me, was, more of the idea of the older horses just weren't very good, and they just weren't very consistent. But I think the race or the talk of championship comes down between Fierceness and Sierra Leone. I don't have a dog in the fight. It doesn't matter to me either way. But I thought Fierceness actually ran a better race than he did in the Breeders' Cup Classic, because he was the one that was attending that scorching pace and just couldn't hold off Sierra Leone. But Sierra Leone was more consistent. He didn't throw in any bad efforts where Fierceness had two that, kind of head scratchers. Where did they come from? Although we put it together through Saratoga. Whichever way you go, it's between those two for 3-year-old champion. I think the interesting conversation would have been if Fierceness had won the Classic, who gets Horse of the Year? Would have been him or Torpedo Anna, because he was the only one to vanquish Torpedo Anna in the Travers, and
so
she ran great that day as well. And I guess in some ways, I think that Torpedo Anna being Horse of the Year, the only horse to defeat her was Fierceness, maybe strengthens his case a little bit for 3-year-old champion, the only one to defeat your Horse of the Year. But either way, the best news, we're going to see them race again as 4-year-olds. And in our game, rivalries and seeing horses over a long period of time creates fans. At least it did with me in the 70s.
Yeah, it brings up an interesting point, too, is that where do you see the growth? I mean, do you see that improvement? Sierra Leone has kind of shown that, not immaturity, but he kind of has some of those quirks that we always talk about when we see him come on the track. From a growth standpoint, from 3 to 4, now, who's going to have that upside? Is Sierra Leone going to figure out a touch more as he goes into a 2025 campaign?
Well, it really felt like from a mental aspect, Sierra Leone was a better horse as the year went on. And those, habits that lugging in, wanting to lay on horses wasn't as prevalent. Also, he caught pace in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which allowed him to make a run without having to get on top of horses and grind away. But you should see bigger, stronger horses at 4. Horses don't fully mature till 5. I think it's a great thing when you see these horses compete further in their careers to 4 and sometimes even 5-year-olds. You understand the economics of why they don't. But for the health of the game, it's great to see these horses come back.
Really looking forward to 2025. Those are some of the names that are going to be back next year, but there's a lot of names that are going to be back, and there's going to be even more great racing action in Hot Springs. And there is the winner from today's 4th race, and that's Go West Go. Talk about that trip. Showed speed early on, came off the pace, tipped to the outside. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, just that kind of bumbling beginning. Tyler Bacon, his apprentice rider, lost his stirrups, got him back very quickly. Circled the entire field around the far turn, and horses' runs are usually less than 3/8 of a mile. He made an elongated run and was able to hold off the late rush of the number 8 First Bid, who basically came with that last run and just ran out of racetrack.
I didn't see that Tyler Bacon had really looked down. Usually you see them grab the irons. Did he just kind of stick his foot down there and I found it?
And there it was. I used to use very heavy stirrups, and a lot of times you don't because to make weight, but I use steeplechase rider stirrups because I have a big foot and I'm not exactly jockey size, so they wouldn't bounce around as much, and his looked like it laid there pretty flat, but a very, very athletic thing to do to be able to find that without looking down or using your hands.
There you do see the results there from today's 4th race at Oaklawn. Look like nice conditions. We'll see if they continue to come from off the pace, and we're going to get our first look at Tampa Bay Downs. Of course, we got the 6th race coming out, $8,000 claimer, and you do scratch the number 6 in Sassy Charlie, and taking a look at this field and taking a look at favoritism. Lukewarm favorite. I think 2-to-1's lukewarm, but a 5-to-1 morning line gone down now. Marvelous Lady, Richard Braccio aboard towards the far outside. What do you like about the favorite? What are the better seeing here with the favorite? And then we got a horse that's a little keen here in the post parade, actually. That is the number 2. And taking a look at the 2, and wait a sec. Do you like seeing that? I mean, do you want your horse to run off on you like that?
Well, I don't want him to run off, but I want them to be all there, right? I want them to almost like a coiled up spring waiting to be released. He might have been just a little bit over the simmering point there. And that's the horse, actually, I like, the 2. Wait a sec. I just thought he was kind of interesting, although he doesn't have any wins at Tampa. Another place, I put a little bit more strength into a horse is Case, that has had success, and Marvelous, we were talking about the 9, Marvelous Lady, your favorite, has won her last 2 at Tampa and's got a great outside draw because a horse with natural speed is not forced into the race. They're able to get into the race the right way. That outside post could be a big benefit.
It's interesting. You do take a look at the last 2 efforts for Marvelous Lady. You saw that 5-to-1 morning line, but this horse was favorite last start, favorite 2 starts back. So this horse does take money at the windows. You're going to see that in here with an outside draw. Seems like a trainer that's doing very well in there. Favoritism probably does make sense in here and has that outside speed, but with a front-running horse at Tampa, you want to be outside versus inside? I mean, is that where you would really want to sit?
Well, when you have natural speed and you're outside, you're kind of in control of the race. Even if you don't make the lead, you could ride the race like you're on the lead. And horses just breathe better. They get into a better rhythm. The mechanics of their stride are better when they're not under that kind of pressure. So even if she didn't make the lead here, I think she's well placed with that outside draw. I thought the 2 was a little bit interesting because I think this horse is coming off of good efforts. And just to dig a little deeper, Marvelous Lady, your favorite, won the non-winners of 2 and a life for $8,000, came back and won non-winners of 3 and a life for $8,000, and now has to step up again. And this is a wide open $8,000. There's no condition to it. So your horse could have won 20 races and still been eligible for this race. So this is tougher without that non-winners of 3 lifetime next to it.
I'm going to talk about the 4 in just a second in Wheeling and Dealing, a horse coming off of a layoff for Scott Spieth. But when you're in the post parade, when you're watching as a rider and you're watching some of these other horses, if they are a little keen, are you watching some of your other horses in there and you're saying, uh-oh, I've got speed, I'm on the 9, the 2 is a little keen here in the post parade, I might be dealing with a horse that's going to run off a little bit and kind of tangle with me early.
Absolutely. You've got to pay attention to all of that stuff. I would boil it down to even looking at how many goggles a rider was wearing. Wow, that guy's only got 2 goggles on. He's probably going to show speed, right? Or that's his plan anyway. He's got 4 goggles on. It's a fast track. I guess they're not looking to be close today. Every little thing that you can pick out that gives you a little bit of an advantage, you've got to take advantage of it. You've got to exploit it. That's basically what the definition of jockey is, right? Actually, it's to cheat, or a vagabond is a jockey.
Okay.
But it's, when we talk about jockeying for position, you've got to exploit everything from your rivals that you can. A lot of races are won by inches. If you're not taking advantage of those things, someone else is.
Taking a look at the 4 in Wheeling and Dealing, and this horse does have a win, a second and a third at Tampa, so does know how to run over the surface. You do get the layoffs since September, but the connections seem to be doing well, hitting at that 3-5 for Idana Spieth, and also Scott Spieth being aboard, and getting some action here at 3-1.
Getting some action, getting off a synthetic track back to dirt where this horse has been successful, this daughter of Flat Out.
Seems to run a little bit better on the dirt. It does seem like likes the dirt a little bit more than the synthetic. Just kind of okay efforts. We'll see if the class does fit. We're going to go to track announcer Jason Beam. He's going to be calling the action here for race number 6. Does kick off their late, one of their sequences here as we get into another sequence at Tampa Bay.
Marvelous Lady coming up. It's like Gabby Squared might be acting up. I can't quite tell if it's the 7 or the 8. Marvelous Lady, though, the final one to join, just about in. Now goes forward. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Caught him in a very good line. Wait a sec toward the inside, was out quickly. Ideal Breeze is right there in the early going, but it's going to be Wait a Sec in front by 3/4 of a length. Ideal Breeze in second. Little Miss Camille was out third. Then comes Band Sweetheart and the Yellow Colors fourth. Up the inside, Foxy Lady, Wheeling and Dealing. They both start to move up from 5th and 6th. Marvelous Lady's back second last and 7th, about 6 off the top. So then a space of 5 back to Gabby Squared, who's 10 off the early lead of Wait a Sec. And Pedro Cotto Jr. take him to the fire turn in front by just over a length. 22 and 4 the opening quarter-mile time. Wait a Second now leads at 3/4 in front of Little Miss Camille. Band Sweetheart swinging up 3 deep into action. Inside of them, Ideal Breeze is looking for a seam down toward the inside. Things got a little tight there for Ideal Breeze. Meanwhile, Marvelous Lady, Wheeling and Dealing, they're starting to move. They're up 4th and 5th now. Wheeling and Dealing still between horses. They come to the top of the stretch. Little Miss Camille takes over the lead. It's Little Miss Camille to the top of the lane, suddenly a length and a half in front of Wait a Second. Then comes a lineup of horses. Marvelous Lady out wide, Wheeling and Dealing looking for a seam. Ideal Breeze is back into the bit. Going to need a seam, though. Final furlong left to go. Little Miss Camille still there. Marvelous Lady. Ideal Breeze could not get through. Here's Marvelous Lady on the outside of Little Miss Camille. Marvelous Lady going to go on to win it. Little Miss Camille was second. Tough trip there for Ideal Breeze, who was third. Then comes Wait a Sec and Wheeling and Dealing Band Sweetheart after that.
And you do see Marvelous Lady getting it done. Putting that third win together from the 8,000 on 2, 8,000 on 3. Now in this open 8,000. Off the pace, maybe not quite the tactics we saw.
No, completely different way of doing it. From well off the pace, Marvelous Lady comes with the last run. The 5 horse with the 7-pound apprentice made the first run, hit the front. The horse you want to keep an eye on out of this, though, is the 3, Ideal Breeze, who just had a very, very tough trip. Had a check behind, wait a sec around the turn, worked the way outside to the clear. Just not the smoothest of journeys.
Is that a real teaching lesson for an apprentice jockey just like that? You got to be staying in that spot?
Yeah, you've either got to get all the way up in there or get up all the way out of there before the trouble comes. You know, you don't have ownership of that spot unless you're all the way up in there.
All right, we'll find out what happens with the rest of that pick 4 at Tampa Bay Downs, but we've got a 5th race coming up at Oaklawn Park. We're going to take a look at the 1 here. Francisco Arrieta is aboard. The 1, St. Albans Raid.
Showed good speed going a mile, gets a good inside draw going the mile on the 16th.
Rocco Bowens on the 2, Zen Dreams.
Taking that bit of a drop in class, though, in for a $100,000 claiming tag, is going to have to improve.
Firster here for Brad Cox, Ramon Vasquez, 8-1 on the 3.
Yeah, starting out at a mile on the 16th kind of speaks. The horse doesn't have much speed.
Tyler Bacon trying to win another one here, Wandering Kirby.
Yeah, horse that tried turf for Chad Brown. Now gets on the dirt and has been working okay.
And Ken McPeak trains the number 5, 7-1.
Kenny McPeak's horses tend to get better with racing, and this horse did take a step first to second start.
And there's the 6 in Magnetic Beach.
Yeah, one that's actually moving up in company. It was claimed for $30,000 two back.
2-year-old filly by Take Charge Indy. That is going to be the number 7. Take Charge, milady.
Yeah, ran okay on debut. Is a bit green and should improve. Another Kenny McPeak runner.
Julian Leparoux will be aboard, and the 8 outside. That's going to be Fearless Lady for Christian Torres.
Yeah, Christian Torres has been your leading rider for a number of years now at Oaklawn Park, and horse got speed from the outside. Does he have enough time, or does she, excuse me, have enough time to clear?
The 7 right now, lukewarm favorite at 5-2. We've got a maiden $100,000 claiming race here, $65,000 purse, and we're going to throw it out to Paul LaDuca here. What are your thoughts here? A field of 8, the 2-year-olds. We're getting towards the end of that 2-year-old season. Paul, what did you see here in this upcoming 5th race?
Well, I thought it was a very interesting race there, Chris. I mean, to me, you got 3 fillies that we'll take a look at. But, you know, these fillies going long at this time of the season, they're still growing up a little bit. But we'll start with the 1 here, St. Albans Raid, who actually first time out for Matt Shire, I thought ran a pretty good race. Now, was hung out wide most of that race, showed some speed. You know, it's very difficult to debut a horse, you know, a flat mile first time out for the maiden 100. But, you know, this is one of those restricted races. If you were auctioned or sold for $75,000 or less, you are in for this spot. And this is a horse right here that was bought for $50,000. And, you know, like I said, showed speed and just kind of petered out. You expect that from a filly first time out. This one for 10 strike. That one for Jonathan there is, you know, I thought a player in here at 7-2. You look at the 2 other horses that are getting bet. You got the 7 Take Charge Milady for Kenny McPeak. His barn's just been going really well. Now, I will say this, of his 2 wins, they've both been on a muddy racetrack. So he hasn't won a race on a dry racetrack, but this is a horse that did run on a muddy racetrack first time out. 3 horses have come back to win out of the race, so it's actually been a key race. She kind of split that field a little bit and kind of just ran like evenly throughout the race. So maybe going a mile and a 16th today, she'll get a little bit better. I'm going to land on the 8 Fearless Lady in here. I like her last 2 races, to be honest with you. I think Christian Torres step up and ride her in here. And a horse like, you know, Mig said, needs to get out of the gate and get into that stalking position. You look at some of those other horses, the 7 does not have a ton of speed. I even think the 6 Magnetic Beach got a little bit of speed. I get it, but I think Fearless Lady and Christian Torres knows this racetrack and get in good position. If I was going to look for some other horses in here, Longtail Sally is the horse that's a little cold on the board. You don't see Brad Cox first-time starters. This one owned by Calumet Farm, and Brad just hasn't had a winner so far at this meet. So maybe, you know, the public's thinking, okay, we're going to wait for Brad to have a winner. And then the 5 for Kenny McPeak, the other Kenny McPeak. And a lot of times we see when they're betting one of them, the other one runs. And it seems like Kenny horses, all of his horses have been live in here, Chris. But I'm going to land on Fearless Lady. Another guy looking for his first win, and Ron Moquedo had a tough, really bad beats last week. And I think he gets his first win of the meet in this race.
And looking at the 8 and Fearless Lady right now, and Christian Torres is aboard and leading rider at Oaklawn last year, and he really came on the scene. You take a look at the standings right now, 82 wins, Christian Torres, or you take a look at those standings, Christian Torres, Keith Asmussen, Francisco Arrieta, but he really separated himself from the rest of the jockey colony.
Yeah, he pretty much dominated the standings last year at Oaklawn. He's a rider that allows horses to free run. He does not get in the way of a horse. He allows them, if they have natural speed, to show that speed, and they carry that speed for him. You got to upgrade any horse you see Christian Torres ride at Oaklawn Park. It's been consistent for a while now.
Yeah, and do you think it gets to the point where the bettors take notice? I mean, the bettors are taking a look at it, and they say, hey, who's Christian Torres riding? Because he's going to ride at a very high clip, and he's going to win a lot of races.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, that gives him options. So he and his agent probably have a pick of 2 or 3 of any horses in any one given race, right? So if they're hitting on all cylinders, they're trying to ride the livest horses they can. I went with the 1 here, Chris, because St. Albans Raid has that inside draw in that race under her belt. If you had flip-flopped the post positions with her and the 8, Fearless Lady, I would have picked Fearless Lady. I just think going 2 turns, shorter run of the first turn, inside posts have an advantage. Just like I think outside posts have an advantage, particularly in elongated 1-turn races, because they have more time to kind of sort themselves out going to the far turn. Give me an inside draw, though, anytime, 2 turns on the turf or the dirt.
Christian Torres has done his homework, and you talk about an outside draw like that with Fearless Lady. The horse had shown speed at Churchill Downs last time at 1 mile and 16th, and you talk about the draw. It's his first time aboard. He's the first time aboard the 2-year-old filly. Is he looking at that same thing? He's like, I got to send, and I got to do it quickly because I got to get crossed over. I got to get in front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your goal is not to be worse than 2 or 3 wide into that first turn. I don't think he can anticipate clearing the entire field, but yes, you've got to come out running. To me, the simplest way I can put it, you want to get your position going forward so you can get over and clear. Now, this horse did show speed last time, Fearless Lady, but very slow fractions at Churchill, right? 24-1, 49-2. Shouldn't be hard for a horse to be able to get position if they went that slow. They're not going to go that slow here.
And before they're loading into the gate, you take a look at the number 3 in Longtail Sally, and the connections obviously jump off the page. But, yeah, as Paul was mentioning, 0 for 10 right now for Brad Cox to start the meet. Obviously, they're going to heat things up a little bit as the meet continues on. But what do you take about the 3? Now taking a little bit of more action, 6-1.
Yeah, anytime I see a first-time starter, a 2-year-old starting at 1 mile and a 16th, it speaks to the fact that in the morning they're just not showing a lot of natural speed. Now, that doesn't mean the horse won't be good. I just feel like when they start them, the horse has not impressed in their training.
All right, we'll find out what happens. We got a 2-turn race here going 1 mile and 16th. We'll see if it's somebody from way off the pace or some of that front running speed as well. We'll take a look at the post positions as well. Race 5 from Oaklawn Park. Track announcer Matt Dinnerman with the call.
We're ready to go. And Leroff, Fearless Lady, stumbled badly at the break, drops to the rear of the field. Longtail Sally, the first-time starter, on the engine early and strides in front. Anonima takes the second position early, Wandering Kirby third with St. Albans Raid as they go into the first turn run. 1.5 lengths to Take Charge My Lady, trying to get on the rail here. Zen Dreams and Tight Ass to tap on the brakes. Magnetic Beach just past her, and Fearless Lady after the bad break is last. First onto the backstretch, Longtail Sally, who leads the way by about 1 length. Anonima takes the second position and is clearly in that spot on the outside of the front runner in a good position. Then St. Albans Raid running in the third position, 2 lengths off the pace, another 2 lengths back to Wandering Kirby. Swarm between horses now. Take Charge My Lady's inside, and Magnetic Beach is 3 wide. Another 1.5 lengths to Zen Dreams, and still the trailer is Fearless Lady as they're halfway home in race 5. The firster, Longtail Sally, still in front. Anonima on the outside, now only about a 1/2 length back going into the turn. St. Albans Raid right on the leader's heels, and there's room on the inside if she's good enough, but she's still in third in a pocket now. Zen Dreams is making up some ground, a joint third with St. Albans Raid around the far turn run. Take Charge My Lady being asked to pick it up, but she has some work to do. 6 behind, under a ride on the fence, coming to the top of the lane. Anonima has the head lead now. Longtail Sally asked to counterpunch from the inside. Anonima down the lane, putting away the front runner, Longtail Sally, and Anonima becomes that leader and shakes away St. Albans Raid into the second position. Then Take Charge My Lady coming on to be in the battle for second, but her stablemate, Anonima, is long gone. Anonima and Manny Esquivel win it by about 1 3/4 lengths. Take Charge My Lady gives Kenny McPeak the exact. St. Albans Raid was third, and Longtail Sally was fourth.
And you take a look at, just as Track announcer Matt Dinnerman said a Ken McPeak exacta. Take a look at the start, breaking in a touch of a tangle there, the number 8.
Yeah, the 8 Fearless lady lost all chance at the start, stumbled, and so Christian Torres said, okay, let me just drop in. This is the hand I'm dealt. It was a bad hand. Put a line through the race, give her another chance. But it was the Kenny McPeak exacta, the other Kenny McPeak, the 5 Anonyma. And take charge, milady. You were pointing out during the running of the race, Chris, not in the most comfortable position. Kind of had to go backwards with the flow of the race and then came with a late run.
Yeah, you did see it looked like Julian Leparoux made that move towards the inside, got some of that position, but was in behind another horse that you said also is kind of in a tough spot. So when you're behind a horse that's going to have, if they're both in a tough spot, now we're in trouble. And then you saw in the gallop out, if you watch gallop outs, the 7 is running right by the stablemate in there.
Yeah, and St. Albans Raid was the horse right in front of her that was having a steady. So as the race is picking up, right, the flow of the race is going forward, those were 2 horses having to tap on the brakes and go backwards. I do think the 7, Take Charge, My Lady, may have been better than her stablemate Anonyma, but Anonyma set that perfect first over trip.
Yeah. 2-year-old filly by Sharp Azteca had some of that more forward position, was up with the pace, so we did see a 2-turn race there where the 5 was striding away, opened up on the field. Only the stablemate was going to try and catch her in that spot. Speed seems to be fine. Seems like a fair racetrack. Doesn't really seem like we took anything too much from the first 2 races.
Yeah, no, your horses came from off the pace in the first one. This horse was right on top of the pace, so it seems like a pretty fair racetrack from what we can see. I will say the 1 horse, St. Albans Raid, look for that horse turning back in distance. Her stride shortened up markedly the last 16th of a mile.
All right, we'll find out more. We got plenty to go still here on the program on America's Day at the Races. We got plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about family connection and living out the dream with his family. Young rider Keith Asmussen, no longer an apprentice, but now a journeyman, and continues to do great things at Oaklawn Park when we come back on America's Day at the Races.
Such a privilege coming from a family of jockeys that they understand the trials and tribulations of being a jockey and what it takes mentally and physically. When I first started, I wanted to ride one race more than anything. And this kind of snowballed into something that has, blown my wildest expectations.
And it's Ian Glass fending off all the challenges, and he'll prevail going away too.
Today, the Asmussens are better known for training thoroughbreds thanks to the accomplishments of Keith's father, Steve, who was the only trainer to win 10,000 races in North America.
It's impossible to explain how much fun it is. I mean, I've been unbelievably blessed in horse racing, and I think a lot of it is, growing up with my dad rode, and then my older brother rode and stuff. So the excitement of that, and then to get to relive it with your kids is unbelievable.
I imagine he's got an immense source of pride from it, given that he is, other than horses, taught me about everything I know. Grew up around the racetrack, handicapping races. Hometown Arlington, Texas, 20 minutes away from Lone Star Park. Obviously infatuated with jockey as a profession growing up, just having known my father and my uncle and my grandfather, who were all jockeys.
Keith Asmussen's mother, Julie, was an accomplished rider in her own right. She competed in the rodeo event, barrel racing, through high school. And his younger brother, Eric, is the latest Asmussen to forge a path as a jockey. Keith and Eric have already ridden on the same card at several racetracks, just like their uncle and father did at Aqueduct in the 1980s.
It was always, a dream, but I would go as far as saying like a pipe dream of being a jockey. Probably 7th grade, I was about the same size I am now, so I thought I was going to blow right by it.
It was Keith's height and weight that steered him towards a more typical career path after graduating from high school.
Applied to the University of Texas, and I got in their business school. I'm an accounting major. I have a 5 years master's degree in professional accounting. And it wasn't until my junior year at college, when COVID hit, 2020, that when classes went online, I came to work here at Oaklawn, because I'd already, poked my father quite a bit about, is it possible I could ride a race? Before I even rode, my parents made me promise that, once you start, you're not going to want to go back to school. You got to promise you're going to go back to school. And I kept that promise, and I went back for 2 more years, and I got my degrees. And as soon as I graduated, I went straight to the racetrack.
Rivet has won his 3rd straight, and Keith Asmussen has an Oaklawn Stakes victory.
Keith James Asmussen is named after his grandfather, the family patriarch, who rode quarter horses for 38 years. In fact, grandfather and grandson both won a race for Hall of Fame trainer D. Wayne Lucas 54 years apart.
These two to the wire, Papa Rocket.
I love being a jockey. It's such an incredible feeling. There's nothing like the feeling of being on top of a thoroughbred racehorse at full flight. And, when you add the art of race riding, it was such a spectacle watching it growing up and just being so attracted to it, and then being able to actually do it, it's beyond words.
Family affair indeed, and you see young Keith Asmussen talking with his dad there, and connections very well in that whole family.
Just a tremendous family and a tremendous racing family, and Keith himself, just a really outstanding young man who never had the opportunity to ride with the apprentice weight allowance because he of his size, and for him to improve and develop the way he has without getting that advantage. Now, obviously, he had his dad in his corner, but he wouldn't ride all his father's horses. But to make inroads and winning his first graded stake for Wayne Lucas, who had such a history throughout the family. And I was telling you off camera, I had the pleasure of riding with both Steve when he rode for a brief period before turning training, and his brother Cash, who revolutionized the way they rode, particularly in France, and the whole family. Steve and Cash's mom, Sissy, when we went to the first Japan Cup, seeing me at 16 years old, overwhelmed, basically snapping a lead up on me and guiding me through the whole experience. Wonderful people.
Yeah, whole family has been aboard a horse. It's got, you kind of look around, you're like, okay, what do you want to do as a career? I think I'll be a jockey.
It's in the pedigree, huh?
Here's Paul LaDuca with more about young Keith Asmussen.
Yeah, it's definitely in the pedigree. And the crazy part about it, I've mentioned this multiple times on air. Keith was my PA at one time, a long time ago, when he was about 12 years old. He was just a young kid, and he was always into horse racing. He really was. And even at that age, as carried to now, he always thought cerebral. You know what I mean? Obviously, the physical talent is there, and he has to battle his height. He has to battle his weight. And I think it took him a little while to get used to that. But then he progressed, and I think his thinking skills and the way he thinks a race out and the way he sees a race out made him progress to what he is now. Now, he went through a really tough injury. Now he's trying to come back and get to that level, and it seems like he's getting a little bit better and better in each race. Mig, you would know this more than anything. When you have a bad injury, you know that, it's a little bit scary first time. I remember when I had my first bad injury, you don't really know whether you want to go full bore, how to test it or not. But I think, Keith's taking it a little bit by little bit, and he's thinking with his head, and I think he's just going to be just fine.
Absolutely. I see him rounding into form now, Paul. I mean, it's the first time you get hurt bad and you're out for a period of time, your timing suffers. Just feeling the flow of the race again. But I'm seeing a guy that's finding his form again pretty quickly. And I spoke to him a couple times during the injury, and you could tell that his mind was in the right place. Some riders can't handle injury. Some very promising young riders get injured, and it ends them. They just don't have the ability to overcome that. They didn't realize the ground could bite as hard as it bites. There was never a doubt, speaking with him, that he was determined to come back, and he's coming back in a good form.
And would you feel, the name, right? Asmussen, of course, that's going to get him some opportunities. It's going to get him mounts. Of course, his father can put him on some horses and give him some opportunities. But there's also some pressure that comes along with that, because you have to show that you have the ability to do it. You can't just say, I'm somebody's son and I can go out there and ride. And so you have to prove it to a Hall of Fame trainer like Dwayne Lucas and getting with those connections that you can actually do the task when you get out there.
I'm sure there's a lot of pressure being in Asmussen, because really it's racetrack royalty, right? But you can't take it for granted and rest on your laurels for your name. I think they all got an incredible work ethic instilled in them by their grandfather, Keith, who he's named for. And one thing about the racetrack and horse trainers, if you work hard, you will get an opportunity. Those kids are not afraid of hard work.
Yeah. Definitely got to get the hustle going. And Paul, what do you think? I mean, you still got to get out there. You got to get out there in the morning. Still got to earn your spot aboard some of these live mounts, of course, at Oaklawn. And talking about Keith and the opportunities and seeing him on a few favorites here later on today.
Yeah. I will tell you this, to answer your question, Chris, I think Steve yells at Keith and Eric more than any other jockey. I tell you what, these kids wear it. And I want to say that if you ask Mig, last year, Steve even told Mig, you know what? He goes, Keith can take it, man. And listen, Steve is a competitor. And if it's one of his sons, he's even harder on Eric and Keith. So believe me, these kids get it from their father. And they just brush it right off. I give him a lot of credit. Keith just walks, and he just walks with his tack, and he goes, okay, Dad, and he just goes back up in there. But Keith is just as hard on his kids. Mig has seen it before. So both of these kids got strong minds.
Luckily, holiday season coming up too, so you don't have to talk horse racing at all, right? Just holidays.
Well, I'm sure that dinner table is going to be all about horse racing, but Paul's right. I mean, Steve's tough on riders, and I'm sure he's even tougher on his boys, but they understand. Steve's a perfectionist. Yeah. Steve wins 500 races. He wants to know why he didn't win 505,
We got some more great racing action. We'll see those connections. We'll see that last name, I'm sure. We'll see it in the winner's circle. But we're taking a look at the result from the fifth race. And it was a Ken McPeak Exacta and Anima, the 2-year-old filly by Sharp Azteca, getting the job done. $20 winner there. And you do see the trip. Tale of two trips, right? I mean, just got the jump on her stablemate, was in perfect stalking position.
Yeah, stalking that first-time starter, Long-Tail Sally from Calumet Farm, Brad Cox, who tired going further. And when she tossed in the towel, she assumed the lead, opened up an insurmountable lead, and was able to hold off Take Charge Milady, the other Kenny McPeak runner. And St. Albans Raid had a good enough trip, even though she had a tap on the brakes on the far turn, but really short in stride. Philly, I'm going to look for on a turn back.
You do talk about the horses coming from different locations. This horse, the winner, came from Churchill Downs. You saw another winner come from Ellis Park, or run second there from Ellis Park, and then you see the third place finisher also come from Churchill. So maybe something to take a look at with some of these horses coming in.
I have to do it. I'm going to do it tonight, Chris, is kind of go through the charts from the beginning of Oaklawn up to this point and break down which jurisdictions have been winning the most races.
All right, that's something to keep an eye on for the handicapping throughout the weekend, throughout the meet. And we're going to take a look at the 7th race coming up from Tampa. $5,000 claimer going, 2 turns again, and you do get a big field. So does this kind of lend to where you take a look at a favorite 4 to 5 in it for love, or in it for the love to the outside? But do you love that outside post position again with this 2-turn distance at this $5,000 claiming level, or just in general?
I don't like outside post positions in 2-turn races. I also always have a harder time taking a short-priced horse in lower-level races. There tend to be less consistency in lower-level horses. And, I mean, listen, this horse is an 8-time winner. You like horses that know how to win, but does have to overcome that outside draw.
All right, so seeing a 4 to 5 favorite towards the outside in the 10, where did you end up going? I mean, who ended up being your top pick? Where'd you land?
You know, I'm a little bit interested in the 2. Political Riot has a race going 7 furlongs at Tampa. You know, left a lot to be desired, but also broke through the gate that day. Was a big price. This horse has some better races going 2 turns, particularly at Canterbury. Does have 1 win at Tampa, and I just thought at 7-1 or 8-1 now being drawn towards the inside, I'd take a little bit of a stab there.
Yeah, when you do take a look at the familiarity with the track, is that something that really jumps out, especially at this level? These are some horses, hard-knocking, claiming type horses that have had opportunities over this surface. You want to see those wins by this point?
Yeah, I would like to see some success there, right? You know, it's a sandier track. Every racetrack has a different composition, and some horses handle it better than others. Your favorite here, In It for the Love, is 0 for 8 with 1 second and 2/3 at Tampa and an outside draw. 4 to 5, listen, I'm not going to be surprised this horse wins. I just would have a hard time betting this horse at 4 to 5.
All right, you take a look at some of the other rivals in this field, and let's take a look at a 5 to 2 shot, and Jose Ferrer is going to be aboard for Kathleen O'Connell, who's done some very nice work here early on. You see 5 wins at the meet, 34 starters, very consistent, and you know she's been in the conversation a lot with the trainer that we know here in New York, and Linda Rice, as far as top all time. But she's got a nice runner in here, coming off a layoff since July, and that's the 4 in King Ramos.
Yeah, and you get Jose Ferrer, who, by the way, to me is a marvel. The guy keeps himself in unbelievable shape. The conditioning he has, he and I had the bug together.
Wow.
Okay, so that gives you an idea. And the fact that he can still do it at a high level and keeps himself so physically fit. Like you said, Kathleen O'Connell and Linda Rice. Right there, Linda Rice has the lead right now, but if Kathleen O'Connell gets hot, she could retake the lead for all-time leading female trainer.
Yeah, they do kind of go back and forth a little bit, so you don't want to shout it too much during the race calls. As far as now you'll go back and forth. But any last thoughts here before we kick off this 7th race?
No, I just think it's about trips, and who gets into the first turn in good shape. When I go back and watch replays, a lot of times I put a lot more about what happens into the first turn to kind of decipher a horse's trip.
All right, we'll see if the 10 In It for the Love, who's taken all the action right now, 4 to 5, is currently a heavy favorite in this race, is going to be able to overcome that outside draw and show some speed and win today's 7th. The pick 4 there at Tampa Bay Downs continues on, and Jason Bean is ready for the call from today's 7th.
Coming up and backs away. Running right by you once again, coming forward. This time goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. The favorite, In It for the Love, hopped just a touch at the start. Political Riot goes out to the early advantage, running right by you, flashing speed from that outside gate, but it is going to be Political Riot who leads them as they run into that first turn. Running right by you up from the outside, down along the fence, cutting through is King Ramos, between horses, Divining Stone, and Ghost Stalker right there in that second flight as well. In It for the Love settles down in 6th. Going to be 3 deep on that first turn. Then comes Shake 'em and Break 'em, who's to the inside in 7th. Then it's a gap of 4 back to Village Preacher, 70-70 Cat, and Burning Man. Those 3 across the track at the back. 24-1. So everything gone the way of Political Riot and Chad Lindsay up front. Political Riot in front by 3 through modest fractions. On the outside, running right by you is 2nd. King Ramos, Ghost Stalker. They're 3rd and 4th. They're 2 lengths clear of the favorite, In It for the Love, who's shadowing Divining Stone. They're together 5th and 6th, about 4.5 off the top. Then 3 more back to Shake 'em and Break 'em. Burning Man starts to commence a mild bid, and the 2 at the back, 70-70 Cat and Village Preacher. Political Riot through an opening half in 48 and 2/5 seconds. Leads them to that far turn. Long shot running right by you, right up to within a head. They're a length and a half in front of King Ramos. Then comes Ghost Stalker. In It for the Love, pushed along, 5th on the outside, trying to gain on this top pair. Running right by you in Political Riot. They arrive at the top of the stretch pretty much as one. King Ramos swings into action, 3 deep, in it for the love on the far outside. 3/16 of a mile left to go. Political Right on the inside, just got the brakes released, and now a length in front of Running Right By You. King Ramos, shake him and break him's trying to launch a bid from the back. In it for the love down the far outside. It's Political Riot at the 16th pole, Running Right By You. Then comes King Ramos. Political Riot was traveling well throughout, goes on to win it by 2. Running Right By You was second. Third was really close. It's between King Ramos and Ghost Stalker. Then came in it for the love and Divining Stone.
And trainer David Van Winkle sends out the number 2 in Political Riot. That's Chad Lindsay aboard there, getting the victory. Front running score, got to the front, and, kind of free running, and really, we talked about this. Played out how you like, and nice selection, Political Riot.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought this horse was a generous price at 8-1 for a horse that was coming off of a 7-furlong sprint where the pace is always much faster, and got very comfortable on the lead and was very well rated on the lead.
Didn't quite see the off odds there, but the 2, I think, came back a nice return in there. 8-1 in the morning line. We'll find out what the payouts there were from today's 7th. Right now, we're going to take a look at today's 6th race coming at Oaklawn Park, and another post-parade coming your way, and there is the number 1. That's going to be Belle Cherie for those connections we talked about. Steve Asmussen, Key.
And taking a drop in class, and we also have that, feature angle that seems to work on this show.
There's the 2.
Yes, Champagne also taking a drop back down in class, has races good enough to be competitive here.
Isaac Castillo will be aboard the number 3, 10-1, Bella Hayes.
Another one taking a drop, but feels like this one's going to have to find one of the better races that we've seen.
The 4 at 16-1, Chiquita Arena.
Get Tyler Bacon looking for another win. Horses broken maiden for 20. This is a lot tougher.
John Ortiz is going to be have a big long shot here, 30-1 on the 5. That's Fly Like the Wind.
Yeah, it's going to have to find a race faster than what we've seen up to this point.
Scratching the 6, go right to the 7, and Leone Mo.
And you got Julian Leparoux plying his trade at Oaklawn this winter for Kenny McPeak.
And there is the 8, She's Not a Joke.
Dropping out a stake at Prairie Meadows, broke maiden in the 9th start before that.
Rocco Bowen smiling at the crowd there. Valhalla Vixen, currently 9-1.
Rocco Bowen loves his job. This horse is going to have to improve.
There is the 10 and Up on the Edge.
Taking a bit of a drop in class also, you get the blinkers off. I like blinkers off. Sometimes I think it gets horses to get more relaxed in a better frame.
And trainer Steve Hobby's got the outside runner 5-1 on Scrupulous.
Another one that just feels like it would have to go back to the best race when you broke her maiden, and does get the outside post. And this one adds blinkers, right? They're always tinkering with equipment, trying to get the best out of these horses.
Race number 6 does kick off the pick 5. Let's go to Paul and find out his thoughts here on this upcoming 6-furlong sprint at Oaklawn.
Yeah, Chris, a very wide open pick 5 too. So if you're going to play this, hold on to your wigs, because I think this is going to pay giant, this pick 5 in here. And listen, let's start with the 1 in here. Keith Asmussen and Steve. We just usually when we run these packages and these features, they usually come right and win. But I think Belle Cherie is the horse to beat when you look at her PPs. I mean, she's never been this low in claiming ranks for 35,000. She holds the speed maybe in here. I mean, she has run longer distances, so maybe she could pass horses, and she gets that coveted inside spot that Mig always talks about. Now, when you go to the 2 outside horses in here that drew in, now Scrupulous is a 3-year-old filly running against Olders, obviously. The race 2 back, now blinkers will go on, so is that going to mean that they're going to push from the gate? I would think so. You get Francisco Arrieta. Steve usually does well when he comes in here. He's having a little bit of a rough 2024, but he hasn't sent that many horses out, and this horse is getting played here at 5-1 from 8-1 morning line. I like the 10. I was kind of with Mig in here. I don't like 1 for 13 horses, but she's a filly that does have a passing gear. There's not many horses in here that can pass horses. There looks like there's a lot of speed lined up. Now, I could say Lonnie Moe, the 7 for Kenny McPeak. That horse maybe could pass horses. Chiquita Reina, the 4, maybe could pass horses, obviously did. But, maybe at this rank, I don't know. I just look at the 10 and think, okay, this horse can pass horses at this level at least, and I think there's going to be a lot of speed signed up, so I'll take Rafael Bejarano. And I heard you, Mig, that you like this horse taking the blinkers off, so I'll take my shot here at 6-1.
Thank you very much, Paul. And taking a look at this field, and very lukewarm favor. I mean, 3-1, you're hitting it right on the dot right now, but Belle Cherie doing a lot of her best work over the turf.
Yeah, she's run 5 times on a fast dirt racetrack with 1/3 to show for those 5 tries, and it just doesn't instill confidence, particularly from an inside post, although does take that drop in class for high-profile connections. I liked it, too, a little bit, yes to Champagne, and not that I would say yes to Champagne. I just had a hard time saying no to Champagne for a number of years. But I just thought this horse was a little bit interesting on the drop in class as well.
All right, we'll see what happens on those drops in class. What do you think about that work, though, coming in? You take a look at Steve Asmussen, a trainer that you know very well, Hall of Fame trainer, but that half mile 53 seconds flat, a breezing work there. Not a fast work, just getting kind of on the racetrack.
You know, you have to know intention when it comes to works. I'm not a time guy when it comes for works.
Okay.
I like to see consistent spacing between works. But this is a little bit of Steve's M.O. That good 5-furlong drill on November 22nd got him where he wanted to be. Just stretching the legs, teasing them a little bit, that very slow half, because you don't want to do more. You just want to keep them where they're at.
All right, we'll see if the one, if we know her early, we'll see if she does flash some of that speed. She's got to transfer that form over to the dirt. Meg likes the 2. Plenty of options here available. It does kick off a pick 5 there in Hot Springs over there at Oaklawn Park. They're going to continue the load. There is the 5, a big long shot there for John Ortiz. They're going to load the outside runner, and Matt Dinnerman is going to have the call at Oaklawn.
Scrupulous and Francisco Arrieta. We're ready to go. And Leparoux, uneventful beginning. Fly Like the Wind and Scrupulous out for the lead. Between horses, Valhalla Vixen is moving up. Scrupulous, Valhalla Vixen side by side. Fly Like the Wind right off of them in third. Bella Hayes slips inside to claim that position. Then comes up on the edge, joining Fly Like the Wind, who's back and forth within 3 lengths of the lead. 1.5 lengths to Belle Cherie. She's not a joke. Sent along a little bit in the red jacket. Another 3 lengths more to Yes to Champagne, Lonnie Moe, and Chiquita Reina in the middle of that pair as they go into the far turn. Scrupulous leads the parade around the turn, clears off, is on the rail, and leads by about a length. Valhalla Vixen attempting to come back on again, taking second, coming after the front runner. Bella Hayes shaken up from the third position. Belle Cherie gets a giddy-up reminder in fourth with Fly Like the Wind. The others have got to get going as they come down the lane. Scrupulous is the leader. Valhalla Vixen on the outside, still plugging away in second. Bella Hayes third, furlong to go. It's Scrupulous. Scrupulous, a length and a tail ahead. Valhalla Vixen still trying in second. Belle Cherie trying to get up into third with Bella Hayes. 16th to go. Scrupulous is hanging on. Belle Cherie coming with a dive, but it is Scrupulous to win it. Scrupulous over Belle Cherie. Third home Bella Hayes, and then Valhalla Vixen.
And that was the outside runner there in Scrupulous, and you saw just holding off the oncoming Belle Cherie, who got rolling late. Maybe some of that class really started to come into play, but this was another class dropper with an outside draw. Steve Hobby trained. The blinkers go on. Scrupulous shows speed, just holds them off.
Yeah, kind of a similar trip to the winner of the last race, right? Attending the pace, but not head-and-head for the lead. Kicked on. And it looked like Belle Cherie, the runner-up, the eventual runner-up, was running in place around the far turn. She was kind of buried in behind horses. She had room, but she was taking kickback. And when she got in the clear is when she found her best stride. But by then, it was just a little too much real estate to make up. And that nice, contentious position just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah, moderate fractions there. Looked like a pretty easy opening quarter. Slightly pressured. Rocco Bowen towards the inside made that decision. He wanted out of there. He wanted to get towards the outside, and that was just kind of a tactical decision on his part.
Yeah, he eased back, got to the clear. You know, sometimes you don't want, or you just know that your horse isn't comfortable with that outside pressure. So you want to put them where they kind of get a little braver, right? They blow up. Didn't work here, but I can understand what his thought process was.
And then if you change post positions, do you think Belle Cherie runs a better race than that effort that we just saw? If she's able to get off the rail, if she's able to get towards the outside?
I think if Belle Cherie was drawn outside, she would have won because she wouldn't have had to, you know, take so much time finding her best stride in behind horses.
All right, we'll see what happens as we continue on. We've got great racing action still up ahead, but that is the number 11 in Scrupulous, Francisco Arrieta, getting the victory. And we've got all kinds of great action in Hot Springs today. Also tomorrow, we're going to take a look at the Grade 2 winner set for the Oaklawn debut. That's Spirit Win. When we come back here, America's Day at the Races.
Idiomatic in front, 16th to go in the Juddmonte colors. Florent Giroux aboard. Idiomatic to win the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster.
Idiomatic has taken the lead. Clippier trying to squeeze through, but it's going to be Idiomatic to win.
And Idiomatic just opens back up here with every stride. No catching. Idiomatic winning the Juddmonte Spinster for Florent Giroux.
Curlin, the classic sire.
Enhance your handicapping with AI Fast Facts, exclusively on Naira Bets. Open your Naira Bets app, click View Runner Details, and a stat-driven fact will appear for all U.S. thoroughbred racehorses. Download the Naira Bets app to start using Fast Facts today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Number 1 is Mo Donegal by Uncle Mo. And they're off in the Remsen. As they come on for the finish, and it's going to be tight here in the Remsen. Mo Donegal. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal to win the Wood Memorial. And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
And welcome back to America's Day at the Races. As we see a nice scene there at Oaklawn Park. It's sitting on the turf. There's no turf racing there, but they do have a gorgeous main track at Hot Springs, Arkansas. And there is your winner from today's 6th race. Scrupulous with that outside draw. We saw that outside position, front end speed. Really kind of just set the tempo, and there wasn't much running from the back besides Belcherie, who really ran on late.
Yeah, and like I said, Belcherie looked like she was running with the emergency brake on until she finally sifted out to the clear, and then her stride kind of lengthened, but by then, Scrupulous had put enough separation. And I like when riders use horses' speed to their advantage. I've never understood, Chris, when a rider will wait till the closers are on top of them before asking a horse for their best. In essence, your strategy becomes, I'm going to try to outkick the kickers.
Another double-digit winner there at Oaklawn Park, as we see a nice sequence. As that sequence does continue on, we'll see how some of those multi-leg wagers do continue. We got that 7th race coming up at Oaklawn. We're going to go back to the 2 turns and get a field of 7 in here. And then there's a name that jumps really off the page, Keith Asmussen, we were talking about, but the 7 in Lemon Muffin.
Yeah, Lemon Muffin, Keith Asmussen's first graded stakes win for the coach, the man, the myth, the legend, D. Wayne Lucas.
Nice field in there. We're going to take a look at that $130,000 purse. We've got some great racing action all weekend long, but we've got the Poinsettia, of course, coming up at Oaklawn Park, and that's a big stakes race down there in Hot Springs, and a horse that really does jump off the page, one that you're going to notice, and that's the 7 in Spirit Win. Fernanda Hara being aboard, and you look at that 5.5 furlongs, $150,000 purse, and we're going to take a look at one of Spirit Win's prior efforts, and this is going to be in the Honorable Miss back in July.
Yeah, Mike Smith aboard. He had picked her up in Lone Star when he won a stake on her there. Traveled to Saratoga, and Mike showing off for the Saratoga faithful. One of the leading riders in New York for many years, Hall of Famer, obviously. And a filly that possesses a lot of natural speed. That outside post with Fernando Yara tomorrow gives her options, or being drawn towards the outside, not the outside, but a filly with natural speed that battles. You know, some horses have speed and they get tired and you just hope they hold on. She actually will battle, and I like speed horses that battle. Think Tom Amos's good filly, Serengeti Empress, right? Not only fast, but will fight you for it as well. And from what I understand, Chris, Fernando Yara, who was being handled by Jose Santos Jr., is being handled by Jose Santos Sr., the former jockey Hall of Famer and great rider. At least that's what I heard the other day. I hope I have the proper information.
Yeah, Spirit Wind, she seems like a horse that you want to just kind of stay out of her way, right? Mike Smith was real sitting chilly there and just didn't really ask her too much. The closers were coming at that 5.5 furlong distance. Maybe you see that same type of trip, kind of just stay out of her way and let her do her thing.
Stay out of her way. And you saw Mike Smith riding her with a loose rein, right?
Yeah.
A loop in her rein. And sometimes riders will do that with a fast horse, you know, that might have issues with their breathing. You don't want to inhibit their breathing, put the bit too far up in their mouth, change, you know, the carriage of their head and how they get their air. So, I mean, Mike rode her with a loose rein, a loop in the rein. Now, that's something Fernando Yara, doing his homework, watching races, has to pay attention to. You know, as a rider, you don't just read a form. you've got to look at replays, and you've got to know your competition as well as your own horse.
All right, that's going to be Saffie Joseph Jr. and Fernando Haro being aboard there for Spirit Win tomorrow in the Poinsettia. And we've got more racing action coming up from Tampa. We're going to go back to Oldmar, Florida. We're going to talk about their allowance feature, which is coming up here later on in the program. That's going to be when we come back here on America's Day at the Races.
In its 97th season, Tampa Bay Downs has plenty of history. Today, there are many new things to see and do, and perhaps most importantly, the track's racing surfaces have become a big draw for owners and trainers looking to find the winner's circle.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, the turf course is beautiful. And when we started training, me and my wife, we had horses that were turf horses, and we needed to spend the winter somewhere. So we give it a go, and we really enjoy the place, the atmosphere, and the fact that horses winter very well.
Well, as you can see, everybody comes here to run on the turf, get their horses ready for going north. And the dirt track is, when you leave here, you can pretty well win at any track. The horses get legged up good here, and it's a very safe track.
We just want to give our horses enough foundation and experience to be able to obviously go to bigger meets, meaning Kinlan, New York, and you know how tough that can be. And we feel that Tampa is the right place to do so.
There are several places to enjoy all of that great racing, with new stadium seating in the grandstand, covered cabanas on the first floor, and the veranda, which gives your group the best seat in the house, directly across from the winner's circle. There's more fun to be had next door at the Downs Golf Practice Facility, which was launched in 2003.
We offer a fully stocked pro shop. We carry about 9 different brands of apparel, clubs, golf balls, gloves, you name it. Full short game area. You can actually bet the horses inside of our pro shop. We like to call ourselves the only driving range where you can bet horses and play golf in the same day at the same location. You know, joining the golf with the racetrack for families is perfect. You know, you can come over here, hit some golf balls, and then go have some lunch over at the track and play the horses. And there's obviously a lot of stuff to do over there for kids as well. So it's a perfect place.
Fans can also experience the Silks Poker Room on the 3rd floor with a variety of high-stakes games and tournament competition. Whatever you're looking for on race day, you can find it at Tampa Bay Downs.
The word is approachable, both as a fan and as an owner. Everybody that you run into wants you to be here. You have a real connection to the people, and I'm talking from the racing office all the way down to concessions. So it's just a great place to be an owner. It's a great place to train horses. It's probably the best surface in the country, and there's no better place to be in the winter.
And a great look there at Tampa Bay Downs and take a look at some of their key dates on the schedule and really start heating things up when they get into the month of February. There's Grade 3, the Tampa Bay. You get the Grade 3 in the Endeavor. You got the Sam F. Davis and, of course, the Tampa Bay Derby there on March 8th.
Yeah, great place to get a horse ready for the Kentucky Derby because the track does have, the kind of that depth to it. You get a lot of foundation, a lot of fitness into a horse, and I love the track. I love the time I spent there. It's just got a great atmosphere, and people are into it. They really enjoy a day out at the races there.
Yeah, you also notice the kids they were playing golf and the whole family. The kids are there. When you bring the kids out to the racetrack and there's all kinds of things going on, activities for them, and also get to catch a few races to understand our sport and maybe become a part of it.
I think that's the biggest challenge our sport faces going forward because a lot of wagering is done now away from the track, right? You're not going to get a lot of people that one day wake up and magically go, I'm going to bet on the race day unless they've experienced the event itself. And, I know it captured my attention coming here when I was 10 years old. My eyes get this big, the horses, the jockeys. I just love the entire atmosphere of it. And obviously I became a lifer. But, I think you've got to get people to the racetrack to experience that excitement that it provides.
Yeah, very much a family feel. We talked about the Asmussen family and just growing up in horse racing, and now we take a look at bringing in the new fans with the kids and director of golf. That's a great position. I need that position.
Sounds like it'd be a pretty good job, huh?
That sounds like an awesome job. What are we talking about? Hey, taking a look at Tampa Bay and their 8th race. Some more great racing action there at Oldsmar because we're going to see some of the action on the track and taking a look at this 8th race. Only a couple minutes away now. We're going to get a post parade and we're going to take a look at the 1 in Grazer.
A 3-time winner from 10 tries at Tampa. A big price here. You get Joe Rocco Jr. spending the winter at Tampa, which he used to do a lot. First time in a few years he's back there.
All right, big long shot there. Taking a look at the 2 in Style Me Royal. Daniel Centeno will be aboard.
Really good rider, Daniel Centeno, for a guy that wins at Tampa. Horse that's 1 for 4 there.
Sonny Leone, he's going to be aboard the number 3 in Golden Wand.
A horse that's got speed. He's coming off a bit of a freshening. Hasn't been spotted since racing at Delaware.
There's the 4 in Mr. Tito's.
Mr. Tito's horse, to me, is going to have to take a step forward, but this is kind of a wide-open event.
The 5 in Street Glide.
He looks like he's, to me, the major contender here. I like this horse. He's got the right style, should be stalking.
Off the synthetic there, then we took a look at the 6 in Cupid's Dude, but here's the 7 in Hunter's Ghost.
Hunter's Ghost, another one that has sprint speed, so it should be, to me, the main speed here.
All right, we saw the 8, another big long shot, but the 9 is Sweeping Giant with the outside draw, Antonio Gallardo aboard.
Some big races at Thistle Downs earlier this year. Will that form translate? But the horse is 1 for 3 at Tampa.
Going to go 2 turns, a mile and 40 yards here in their featured race. Taking a look at Tampa and all their great racing action. Another lukewarm favorite, and we've seen prices pretty much the entire show. We haven't seen really that short price favorite. Marvelous Lady getting up was probably one of our shorter prices. But you do look at this 8th race and coming up on post time. It looks like they're going to take a little bit of time here, not right up on post time, but 7-2 on Golden Wand. You've got now 4 horses all at 7-2. The 3, the 5, the 7, and the 9. And we didn't get a real strong look there at the 7. But talking about the 7 and Samuel Marin, he's been kind of emerging as a name that we've seen in the jockey ranks. And talking to a former rider, I mean, he's really stepped up. Now he's atop the standings.
I have been so impressed with how he rides the turf. You can see his whole race is to get to the inside, save ground, and that's how you win turf races. There's a big difference between a bad ride and an unlucky ride. And sometimes you hear people gripe that a rider got down on the inside and then couldn't find a way out. you're going to win more turf races that way. I mean, obviously this race is on the dirt, but this is a guy that has impressed me, and I feel like he's taken a big step forward from the rider I've seen over the last few years.
Hunter's Ghost came off of a layoff, has been back since August 19th. You take a look at that effort. Finished third, beaten sixth. This horse has been favored in every single start, though, coming back off the layoff, and now you're getting 3-1. How do you take a look at that? Is it off of a 5-length victory, too, last time out at Tampa?
And this horse has sprint speed. Don't you think he's the controlling speed? I think even if other horses scent, he's just naturally faster than them. And if you go through his past performances, he has won 3 times at the distance. So it's not like he's incapable of getting the 2 turns.
Getting close to post time here for Tampa's 8th race is coming up, but Oaklawn, they're going to be right on top of a post parade 2 for their 7th race, which is coming up, and Lemon Muffin down to 3-5. Let's take a look at that post parade right now as we get the horses coming onto the track. A field of 7, and you take a look at the mile and 16th. There's a 2 lifetime. Kind of amazing that Lemon Muffin kind of that non-winner's a 2 lifetime, but the conditions, if they're there, you take the opportunity, and the purse money's still there. I mean, you take a look at $130,000 purse, ends up being in a stakes race some other tracks.
There's nothing wrong with that $130,000 allowance purse.
Take a look at the 1. Christian Torres will be aboard, 7-2 shot. Standout sensation.
Trained by our friend and colleague Tom Amos and got inside speed with Christian Torres.
Francisco Arrieta, he had the win aboard Scrupulous. Can he get it done with Amy Z, the 2?
Horse that's stretching out off of sprints should be forward as well.
Here's another big price, the 3, Sensible Choice.
Yeah, horse that normally lays up fairly close. Last time had absolutely no speed whatsoever.
And the 4 is going to be Indy Label, Manny Escobar.
Yeah, horse that just broke her maiden for 50. This is considerably tougher.
9-2 on the 5.
Another horse that could be forward, a horse that was actually head-and-head or attending standout sensation last time.
Fernando Jara, he's going to have them out tomorrow, as we talked about on Spirit Win, but here he is on the 6 in Honor Cat.
Yeah, ran okay last time. It takes a step up in company, though. This is a bit different. This horse tried Lemon Muffin last year and was beaten 16.5 lengths in the Honeybee.
There is the 7. Talk about her a little bit more.
Well, I think she gets a lot of speed to set up her late run. She is a closing type, more of a grinding closer. She doesn't have what I would call a turn of foot, but she stays. The one thing that I have an issue with, Chris, and this is a pet peeve of mine, 1 win, 5 seconds.
A lot of seconds there for Lemon Muffin. We're going to get back over to Hot Springs. We're going to talk about that upcoming feature race, the 7th race coming up. But we are sitting on post time here for the 8th at Tampa, and you do see the board kind of stays very much the same. You can go a lot of different directions. Right now, the 3, 5, and 7 seem to be the ones that take the action. But when I see a board like this, I feel like the bettors are just kind of, they're a little confused at this point. Not quite sure where to land in this spot.
Well, I'm in a perpetual state of confusion. So I think the 7 Hunter's Ghost is interesting. A horse that I think will take control of this race early on and has the potential to take them gate to wire.
Okay, we'll see if that controlling speed does do the trick one more time. Talking about the 3 in Golden Juan. This is a horse coming off of a layoff. Juan Ciavilla has had a nice start to the meet, though. 3 wins, 3 seconds, 10 starters, so you know he's done some nice work. He's also done some nice work in some of those preps and some of those big races at Tampa that we've seen.
Yeah, last year, right, he had a horse that won the Sam Davis.
Yeah.
And you get Sonny Leone, won the Kentucky Derby on Rich Strike a few years ago, and it was a springboard for him to go to the Florida circuit. He rode at Gulfstream some, now riding at Tampa. But it kind of took him out of that Ohio circuit, kind of thrust him into a spotlight, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. We'll find out what happens here in the 8th race. Will the outside post be able to negotiate a nice trip here going the 2-turn distance? Jason Beam there at Tampa Bay Downs with the call.
Goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Grazer came away a couple steps slow. Good start for Golden Juan in the center, down toward the inside, Style Me Royal. Those two are quickest as they run toward that first turn. Then comes a lineup of 4 just in behind them. Street Glide, Hunter's Ghost 3 deep there. Between horses is the Gray Cupid's Dude and way out wide Sweeping Giant. Mr. Tito's and Frosty the Soldier both start to work through down on the inside. And it's 5 more to the slow starting Grazer, who's the early trailer. But Style Me Royal and Daniel Centeno inherit a lonely lead. Style Me Royal onto the back stretch in front by 2 after a 23-3 opening quarter mile. In that second place, Golden Juan getting a little bit closer now. It's a length and a half more back to Hunter's Ghost. Frosty the Soldier's in between horses. Mr. Tito's down to his inside. It's another length back to a lineup of 3. Street Glide to the far outside goes Sweeping Giant and Cupid's Dude, and another 4 back to Grazer, who is the trailer. They have a half mile left to go in their journey, and Style Me Royal with company now as Golden Juan sidles right up alongside. 47-3 was the time for the opening half mile. It's 2 more lengths then. Back to Hunter's Ghost, who's in third. Mr. Tito's toward the inside. Sweeping Giant, Street Glide, both trying to commence bids. They're out 3 and 4 wide respectively. Then comes Cupid's Dude. Frosty the Soldiers drop back second last, and Grazer trails. Golden Juan takes over with just over a quarter mile left to go. Golden Juan suddenly in front by 3 at the top of the lane. Hunter's Ghost between horses, Sweeping Giant on the outside. Style Me Royal, they're second, third, and fourth, with Golden Juan the one to catch. Golden Juan with a furlong left to go. Still that 2.5 length lead. Sweeping Giant, Style Me Royal down toward the inside. Down the far outside, Cupid's Dude trying to put in a rally, but Golden Juan is home and cooled out here. Golden Juan going to go on to win it for Sonny Leone. They won it by 4 in the end. Style Me Royal held second over Sweeping Giant third. Fourth was Cupid's Dude, and fifth, Street Glide.
Connections we just talked about there, and Golden Juan getting the job done. Sonny Leone geared down, wins that one easily. We are right on post time there at Oaklawn, though. We jump over to the 7th race, and there is Lemon Muffin, the favorite that is floating up now. Now you're seeing money come down towards the inside. The Tom Amoss runner and standout sensation. It looks like the bettors have kind of said 2-horse racing here, inside, outside, going the mile and 16.
Inside post, always get an edge with me.
Yeah, so you like the number 1 in standout sensation. Paul, what do you like here in this upcoming 7th?
Well, I mean, listen, the public is going to go towards Lemon Muffin. I mean, when she broke her maiden in the Honeybee. And you know what? She is the lowest payout when it comes to the will pays. Right now, she's even money. She had clicked down, actually, to 3 to 5. Kind of with Mig, though. I do like the 1, the Tom Amoss runner. His horse has really gotten off to a good start to this meet in here. Standout sensation, a horse that did show some speed. I'm not a fan of a horse that has a clear lead going in the stretch and then fold intent, but this horse went 109 and won, and finished up and just got ran down. So, it's going to be interesting what Christian Torres does. Does he send from the inside? Because the 5's the other horse that has a lot of early speed. Now, he's shown that over 2 muddy racetracks going 1.25 miles and 1.25 miles. So does he have a lot of speed? He was chasing the one last time. That was with Brian Hernandez. Now, Julian Leparoux is not a send-type rider, so maybe he takes a little bit off the 1 in here and makes it into a 2-horse race. Because if the 1 and the 5 collide, the 7 wins this race. But if the 1 and the 5 can kind of stay off of each other, then it makes it interesting for Lemon Muffin, or maybe Lemon Muffin just too good for this, but these horses. But I'm kind of with Mig. I'm kind of thinking maybe Leparoux takes a tiny bit of a hold in here and tries to take back. And last time they kind of dueled with each other. It both cost each other the race. So I'll go with the 1. Maybe Leparoux lays off the 1 in here. And, I'm rooting for Lemon Muffin. Dwayne Lucas right behind me in here. But I think, listen, it's hard to take a horse, like Mig said, with 5 second places that could be going down to 4 to 5 here in a minute.
Taking a look at Lemon Muffin, the outside draw at that 4 to 5 number. But, you look at that effort, just the last start, second beat in the length. But when she won the Honeybee, then she tackled Torpedo Anna in the next 2 starts. Then she tackles Gunsong. So the class is obviously there. She may not be as far back. She does need to see some speed in front. But from a class standpoint, and now they find a good spot, which arguably maybe her easiest spot since some of the other races she's run.
And her best races have been at Oaklawn Park,
Okay.
so she has shown an affinity for that. I think the key to this race, Paul hit it on the head, certainly with Leparoux on the 5 Miss Hebrides, but the 2 Amy Z stretching out off of sprints, although I thought Hunter's Ghost coming out of sprints at Tampa just now would show speed and didn't. But usually horses coming out of sprints routing have good speed.
All right, we'll see if Keith Asmussen, you probably think he just gets right over to the rail and just saves some ground?
Yeah, I think he just got to drop his hands and let her get comfortable. That's her style. You can't change it.
All right, we'll see if Lemon Muffin gets the job done or if it's going to be one of the other rivals here in Oaklawn. 7th, Matt Dinnerman with the call.
We're ready to go. And Leroff, an eventful start. Amy Z put into play. Standout sensation from the inside, offensive-minded. Miss Hebrides takes the second spot. Standout sensation is the leader from Miss Hebrides, who takes a hold and will attempt to track the pace from second. Amy Z third in the early stages. Then Honor Cat, the favorite Lemon Muffin, settles off the speed fifth with Sensible Choice. And Indie Label is the early trailer, 7 off the pace. They approach the backstretch. Standout sensation is the pacemaker with 3/4 of a mile to go. A half length in front. Miss Hebrides now applying some pressure from the outside, a half length back. Another length to Amy Z. Honor Cat, they're side by side. Lemon Muffin races alone. She's only 4 from the top, a length and a half clear of Indie Label, who takes the second last position away from Sensible Choice, who's the back marker as they're halfway home. Standout sensation with an easy time of it as a length lead once again. Miss Hebrides backs off in second. Amy Z down on the fence. And there's Lemon Muffin getting closer, wedges herself between horses entering the far turn run. She's a joint fourth with Honor Cat and Amy Z down on the rail. Indie Label, 4 lengths behind, gets to the outside and begins a move. Sensible Choice still at the back. Around the far turn, Standout sensation in front of half length from Miss Hebrides. Indie Label continues that run from last. Lemon Muffin still behind the leaders, saving ground, turning for home on the rail. They're off the turn. Standout sensation kicks away. Standout sensation with a nice kick. Opens up 2. Indie Label's second. Lemon Muffin plodding in third with a furlong to go. It's Standout sensation needs to deal with Indie Label, who's trying hard in the big white blaze on the outside, and Indie Label has gone to the lead. Indie Label for the Matt Shire barn springs the upset at 7-1, giving Manny Esquivel 2 today. Standout sensation second. Lemon Muffin third home, and then Miss Hebrides fourth.
And that's the 4, coming off of a maiden $50,000 win at Churchill Downs, comes right back and wins again. Does it at a nice price, to 7-1 it looks like on the board. And Indie Label just had that outside running style from off the pace. Standout sensation had it her own way. I mean, she was able to set those tempos, 47-3. You know, maybe a quick half-mile time, but that 1:13 3/4, maybe she could have finished the job. And then Lemon Muffin just, a third.
A grinding third. That's
Yeah.
her. And,
Yeah.
and she didn't get the pace that you might have anticipated. Amy Z did not show speed. Obviously, Miss Hebrides with Julian Leparoux decided to rate. So the one Standout sensation got everything her own way. She coughed up a lead again, just like she did last time, though faster fractions at Churchill. And a big effort from Indie Label. She made a wide, sustained rally from off the pace around the far turn. This is the kind of horse I could never come up with, because when they break their maiden for 50 in their 7th start and step up into allowance company, to me, that's a huge hike in class.
Yeah, and she was coming from well off the pace. I mean, she was behind Lemon Muffin as they were moving up the backstretch. So looking at the tempo, maybe this effort is even better than you thought it as originally looked.
You know, sometimes horses just put things together. It was last time her second start off the claim, and now this is her 3rd start by Matt Shire off the claim. And maybe she decided she liked getting her picture taken last time.
She gets the job done. Manny Esquivel, he comes from off the pace, gets that big kick, and Indie Label's able to get the job done there in Oaklawn's 7th race, wins the feature. We're going to talk about more about a trainer that knows how to win races. And we talked about him being a little cold there in Hot Springs, but he's got plenty of horses to take a look at from this year, next year, last year, other years. We're going to talk about Brad Cox when we come back on America's Day of the Race.
They come on for the finish in the Pilgrim Stakes. Annapolis by a head.
It is Annapolis in front. It is Annapolis to win the Coolmore Turf Mile.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime, with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
The only colt ever to win 3 one-mile Grade 1s on dirt. Ran the fastest buyer of the year. That's him, 6 wide, streaking clear.
Here comes Cody's
2 more Grade 1s at 7/8. Here's his 4-go, also running a 112 bite. That's 5 Grade 1s all told. No other son of Sires Curlin has so many. They say, be careful what you wish for. We agree.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
America's Day at the Races is sponsored by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. And there you see the winner from Oaklawn's 7th race. Featured event in there, an Indy label. Getting it done for Matt Shire, Manny Esquivel, from off the pace, well off the pace behind Lemon Muffin. Outside running style, which you're going to see win a lot at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, and I think she was just best. I mean, you make an excuse for the 1. You can't make much of an excuse for the 7, Lemon Muffin. And Indy Label just maybe is putting it all together at the right time, getting better now late in her 3-year-old year, because she came with a relentless and sustained rally.
Yeah, you've really seen her put it together in the last 2 starts, and Manny Esquivel was aboard for the first time and got the job done. Another double-digit winner, so the sequences continue to be pretty tough, but some of these mid-range prices at Oaklawn Park, and in a field of 7 like that, when you catch the 7-to-1 shot, that's a nice return.
It's a really nice return. I was with Paul. I liked the 1 standout sensation. She had absolutely no excuse, got everything her own way in the lead, and got run down by a better horse in Indy Label. And Lemon Muffin, tough to take those grinding types at a very short price.
Yeah, we'll find out what happens with Lemon Muffin in her next start, but we got an 8th race coming up at Oaklawn Park and a $44,000 person here. A couple scratches, scratch the 4, scratch the 10. We're going to go back to 2 turns, though. We get a 1-mile distance race in here, and currently right now the 8 is on the field. Ramon Vasquez at that lukewarm favorite, but Isaac Castillo is going to be aboard the number 1, JT's Imagination, and this is going to be a first off the claim runner for trainer Brad Cox. And Brad Cox has had a pretty tremendous year. He continues to really do strong work and having horses at different surfaces, different distances, continues to build the barn, strong clientele. He's had a tremendous year.
Oh, tremendous year. He's strung together several tremendous years now at this point. A guy that is just on top of it, has multiple divisions, works tirelessly, was here actually Cigar Mile weekend, saddling horses, and a pretty good list of graded stakes winners this year.
Yeah,
right there.
Very familiar names that we've seen run right here in New York, and we've seen him win many races. And Idiomatic is one of the names that really jumps off the page because she just continued to be kind of workmanlike efforts, but she really started to get her due later in the year.
I started to question by middle of the year whether she was maybe had lost a step, got a little older. I could not have been more wrong. Her race in Saratoga, where she was defeated after just a cutthroat speed duel, and then coming back with a scintillating performance in the Spinster. It's a shame we didn't get to see her compete in the Breeders' Cup, but just a really good mare. And like I said, I was starting to think, maybe she lost a step. She didn't lose a step. She just took her maybe a little longer to round into form.
Yeah, no kidding. She has just done tremendous. She did tremendous work, and Brad Cox, he always knows how to win with those fillies. Those fillies and mares as they start to get older, and taking a look at another horse from Brad Cox, and that's taking a look at Immersive from December.
Yeah, I mean, you're a 2-year-old filly champion, undefeated, 3-time Grade 1 winner. I mean, she's already built quite a resume for a young horse. I like that she has shown versatility as well. She's able to take kickback, rally through traffic, come from just off the pace. Just a really, really solid filly. Look, she probably is going to have to get faster because they weren't the fastest races figure-wise. But guess what? She's undefeated, so she does what's asked of her. And from 2 to 3, she should take that step forward.
She comes from a pretty strong barn too, right? I mean, taking a look at some of the other horses that are in that barn, and Mohima is a name that jumps right out. Yep. And taking a look at when Brad Cox was doing his interview though with Maggie and talking about, he talked about 2, but maybe 3, and you start to wonder who that 3rd one could be.
I know. I mean, obviously he's got bench strength, right? He's got a pretty good lineup there of 2-year-old fillies, but he's pretty well represented in almost every category.
Yeah, taking a look at one of his boys in the barn too, and taking a look at Highland Falls, and taking a look at this effort, and looking at the 2024 Jockey Club Gold Cup, of course, and you see them making their way out to the racetrack. It's just so imposing. You know the blue hat, you know the silks, you know the definition, but 5-time winner, first win, it was a grade 1, came in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that relentless stride, right? Runs with his head out and down. And what just a tactical race and how they pulled off their strategy in that Jockey Club Gold Cup, taking it to Arthur's Ride early and counting on this horse's stamina to see him through. Playing to a horse's strength. You know, there's no cookie cutter way to do this. Some horses are just great gallopers, and, you know, count on that they'll stay for you.
Yeah, it's a barn to watch and horses to watch, and you're going to see them continue on in 2025, no doubt. And you see a lot of those contenders in some of those classic races because, really, I mean, that barn, those connections, they're looking at some of those 3-year-old races down the road.
I think that's the biggest thing with the evolution of Brad Cox as a horse trainer is the outfits that he's picked up. You know, training for Juddmonte, training for Godolphin, amongst many other clientele as well. And that speaks to the confidence that people have in him to get the job done. I love talking horses with Brad Cox. I always come away with, you know, some kind of food for thought, something that makes me, you know, opens my eyes at maybe a little different perspective, a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, plenty more coming from the Brad Cox barn and plenty more coming from us. We've got plenty of races still to take a look at right here at Oaklawn and at Tampa Bay Downs. And we're going to talk a bit more about, we talked about Sierra Leone earlier. Let's talk about some Fierceness when we come back to Travers Winter. When we come back on America's Day at the Races and his return in 2025.
The 2023 champion 2-year-old was the one to beat entering 2024, but his campaign didn't start as planned, with a poor start leading to a third-place finish in the Holy Bull. Fierceness responded by taking them all the way in the Florida Derby, which led to him being favored on the first Saturday in May. The City of Light Colt disappointed in the Derby, finishing 15th, and didn't resurface until Saratoga. The Spa was just to his liking, taking home the Jim Dandy and Travers. He capped off his year with a strong runner-up performance after contesting a hot pace in the Breeders' Cup Classic at Del Mar. Can Fierceness add another year-end championship to his resume in 2024?
And taking a look at Fierceness and taking a look at his resume from 2024, you see the Travers, you see the Florida Derby, you see the Jim Dandy, and then that second in the Breeders' Cup Classic, third in the Holy Bull, and of course in the Kentucky Derby, that 15th. But during the season, I think, you talk about the Torpedo Anna. Fierceness was a horse that everybody talked about. You had an opinion one way or the other, whether you felt like he needed the front end, whether you felt like he was going to be this superstar type horse, and he needed that time off after the Derby and really came back and relished it. And he had a nice campaign, but again, I think just one of the names that really jumped off the page. A lot of people were talking about Fierceness in 2024.
I think he was a bit polarizing, right? Because people were of the idea, well, if he doesn't get everything his own way, he's not going to run his race. And I think he proved otherwise as the season went on. His Holy Bull, to me, was the head scratcher. Yeah, it was a returning race, a comeback. He didn't have the greatest start, but it was an absolute no-show. The Kentucky Derby, he was a no-show, but we've had a lot of great horses, or very good horses over the years, not run particularly well Derby Day and at Churchill Downs, whether it's they didn't like the racetrack or the atmosphere surrounding the Kentucky Derby. They're never going to face anything like that again in their life. I mean, as crazy as the Preakness and Belmont can be, it's, the Derby is that on steroids. It's just completely different. I think he really got consistent, and he showed a different grit and determination as the year went on, particularly in his defeat in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was the last man standing after a barroom brawl and was picked off by a very good Sierra Leone.
Yeah, you're talking about the Kentucky Derby, 20 horses in the gate, all kinds of things going on. You need the perfect type trip to win a race like that. But, he's able to show his athleticism and his talent really when he got up to Saratoga. I mean, he really just flourished and was able to hold off Torpedo Anna and really win some really quality races and really assert yourself and say, hey, I'm still here and I've still got ability.
Talking with Johnny Velasquez about him, he said he's a little tricky to ride. And in the Derby, he broke not as sharp as he would have liked, and he kind of had to ask him a little, and then he wanted to do too much. And now Johnny got into a fight with him. Johnny said the key is wherever he is, as long as he's doing it comfortably and not getting into a battle with the rider, using that, energy in a less than advantageous fashion.
All right, we'll find out what happens with Sierra Leone, Fierceness, all the other horses we kept talking about as they're going to be coming back in 2025. But we've got the 8th race coming up at Oaklawn, and we've seen some prices through the sequence. We get a 2-turn race in here, and you get a horse off the claim for Brad Cox. And Brad Cox, we talked about his slow start. Paul was mentioning it as well. JT's Imagination, currently 4-1, so he's not quite getting maybe the respect. 7-2 morning line, kind of right around what you thought, but favoritism right now has gone to the outside with the 8.
We don't think of Brad Cox as much as, claiming horses as we did at one time because of the clientele that he has now. But he still is active claiming horses. And it's his owner, Blake Cox. That's his son, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Yes. That'd be tough connections to train for. It's another good connection, right?
Well, his son's in the barn working with him, so maybe this is his son kind of, trying to test the waters a little bit as well.
Post parade is going to be coming up here as we take a look at plenty of the races still. Showing 8 minutes. Look, I feel like we have a leisurely 8 minutes now. Oaklawn, we were kind of rushing a little bit there trying to get some of those races in. But take a look at that result from Tampa Bay as well in that 8th race, Golden Wand. Perfect stock and pounds trip. Just had a good journey.
Yeah, Sonny Leone looked like he had a handful of horse the entire way. He gave the horse a perfect trip, and he won quite easily. He won with something left.
All right, we're going to see some front-end speed in this upcoming race, but that favorite looks to have that kind of stock and pounds type trip again. With that 8 spot, you do get a scratch to bring you one closer to the rail. I don't know. It's a tactical race, but I think we're finally seeing that the bettors do have a real strong opinion in here with the Mike Maker trainee and Own the Field. But let's take a look at this post parade. That's the one, JT's Imagination.
Yeah, claim for 20 by Brad Cox makes his first start for him and taking money with a good post.
Tom Amos just missed in that 7th race. He's got the 2 in here. Mighty Message.
Stretching back out. We know Tom doesn't take speed away from his horses.
Fighting ready, 23-1.
Going to have to improve.
All right, and we'll take a look at the number 5 here with a scratch of the 4. Nick Juarez will be aboard. Ain't that a kick?
Yeah, coming from Remington Park, and another one that actually has some races that I think could be a contender here at a big price.
Asmussen's teaming up one more time with the 6.
Yeah, Keith for his dad, and a horse that's been running in the starter allowances, are pretty much basically the same condition, lateral move.
And there's a 7, Aaron.
Boy, he's making a really nice impression on the racetrack.
Own the field. This is the one taking all the action, 7-5.
Yeah, Mike Maker for Flying P Stable, Jay Provenzano, and a horse that should kind of get that trip that you just talked about, Chris.
Outside runner is going to be the 9 and Happy Strike.
Yeah, horse that's been showing good speed consistently, and from that post, Francisco Harriet has got to be aggressive.
He's had a win earlier on the card already. We've got plenty of ways to go in this race. When you take a look at the number 7, you say a horse that just jumps right off the screen. I mean, you thought that horse looked impressive. What was it? What was it that you saw immediately?
I like when a horse shows that animation, that good energy, not boiling over, just at that simmering point, right, where they're telling you, hey, I'm ready. I'm here for a reason, and I've got my game face on.
How many years does it take you to get to that point to where you can see it just jump off the screen for you?
You know, I was probably less focused or clued in on it when I was riding, because even though I was paying attention to my competition and my horse, it was when I started doing television and you start to really identify horses that are basically touting themselves.
Tampa Bay Downs has one more race to go. They've got their 9th race on the program. We're going to head out there as they are just upon post time. We get on the turf here. Nice to see some turf racing. Going to go that 1 mile distance in the favorite round. Big favorite. That's the 3 EMs, Treasure Girl, and these connections, Sammy Camacho for Gerald Bennett. They had that outside draw in that dirt race going the 2 turns, but now they get on the turf. Much more comfortable inside draw. They are going to come out of the chute, though, so tactical decisions need to be made here in the valley.
Yeah, absolutely. Turf racing is a lot about trips. I mean, obviously you need the horse good enough to win, but you've got to give them the right kind of tricks. Sammy Camacho has become the kind of go-to guy for Christophe Clement, Chad Brown when they're shipping horses, Bill Mott sometimes when they're shipping horses to Tampa to run, particularly on the turf, and it is a tremendous turf course. It's like a billiard table.
Do we over-exaggerate the point that a certain rider rides a certain course or a certain track a little bit better than some of the others?
No, I don't think we do. I think that there's certain tracks that have their own little idiosyncrasies, and some guys kind of clue into them. But in general, if a guy rides the turf well, he rides the turf well anywhere.
Okay. All right. We'll find out what happens with the 3 at 4-5. Was there anybody else that you wanted to take a look at? Was that your top pick in here in this night?
Well, I will say I think there is questions with the favorite here, because another one with 3 wins, 9 seconds. I don't like when I see horses accumulating far more seconds than wins. Tells me that there's potentially they're herd bound. They're a horse that likes to run with horses, not necessarily away from horses.
Yeah, and you do make a great point, because 6 times second at this distance out of 7 starts. This horse has never seen the winner's circle from this type of distance. So you start to look around, and if you're looking at front end speed or maybe some of those deep closers, I mean, you know, it's late in the day. You come out of the chute. Who's going to get the right journey? Who's going to get the right trip? Was there anybody that was jumping off maybe at a little bit of a mid-range price?
I wouldn't say jumping off the page at me, but a horse that I'm a bit interested in is the 8 Saratoga Gaze, who, you know, I got familiar with running around here this year at Aqueduct before trying Colonial Meadowlands, and a horse that should be forward.
Yeah, finished behind Torjate last time out and has that front-running style. We'll see if Melissa Iorio, who's gotten some nice, she's a little bit slow, but she to start this meet, but she was really riding well there towards the end of Tampa last year and into Monmouth, so she's put some nice victories together. Needs to pick it up. We'll see if that front-end speed will show. Got a few more runners to load. Any final thoughts here before they send them off?
No, it's all about trips. EM's Treasure Girl, big favorite for a horse that has accumulated a lot of seconds and a lot of close seconds. It's not like you can always say, oh, she was just second best in that particular instance.
All right, we'll see if Sammy Camacho and Gerald Bennett can team up and get the job done. Just a few more left to load, and let's just send it out now to Jason Beam as he'll get the rest of this load. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't, because there's a few that are still hanging out in behind the gate.
I like this shot, though, because you see Lambholm South. Lambholm South is the former hobo farm that Roy Lehrman purchased, and he has his farm there, training center. And Roy Lehrman, to me, is such an interesting person with the farm and his holdings in New York, Lambholm North. And he has a long-standing relationship with Tampa Bay Downs.
Wow, that's fantastic knowledge. That just goes to the history of you knowing pretty much every. How many people do you think you know in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the game.
Thousands.
Been in this game 46 years.
All right, just a few more left to load. It looks like towards the outside, going to load one. And now Jason Beam's going to complete the load and the call. It's the 9th from Tampa Bay Downs.
Good win. Samuel Marin to the outside. Samuel been red hot as of the last few days. Comes up, and she goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Caught him in a very good line. EM's Treasure Girl, the favorite, was out quickly. Saratoga Gaze starting to work over from the outside, as is Red Wind, and up her sleeve. It's going to be Red Wind from that high draw who goes all the way to grab the lead. Saratoga Gaze going to settle back. Second, third is up her sleeve. EM's Treasure Girl, the favorite, is fourth right now, about 3.5 behind as they run into that first turn. It's another length and a half. Back to After a Few, who races along fifth. Inside of that, Glitter Bay is sixth. Lindy Kate is seventh. Then a gap of 5 more. Back to That's My Cat, Vingativa. And Cat 1 is at the back early on, about 13 lengths off the leader up top, who is Red Wind. 23 seconds for the opening quarter mile. Red Wind onto the backstretch, 3/4 in front of Up Her Sleeve. Saratoga Gaze continues down nicely toward the inside, is third, just 2 off the top. Right to her outside is the favorite, EM's Treasure Girl, fourth, 3.5 off the early lead. It's a length and a half more, then back to Glitter Bay After a Few. They race as a pair, 5th and 6th. Lindy Kate's going to join them from 7th. 5 more then back to Vingativa, Cat 1, and dropping out last is That's My Cat. Red Wind took him through that opening half at 47 and 3 to the far turn and steps out in front by 2.5 now. Up Her Sleeve is second. Saratoga Gaze stays toward the inside. EM's Treasure Girl, the favorite, is fourth right now, under a pretty stout drive, though. Still 3.5 lengths behind Red Wind. Red Wind and Samuel Marin bring him to the top of the stretch, a length and a half in front. Saratoga Gaze going to switch out to the 2-path for the drive as they come to the top of the lane. Red Wind is the leader. Saratoga Gaze up to a clear second. Glitter Bay is third. EM's Treasure Girl now starting to get in gear is fourth. Grinding away, still has to make up 3.5. Red Wind still the target at the 16th pole. EM's Treasure Girl, Glitter Bay, Saratoga Gaze all giving chase. Red Wind took him on a merry chase. Won a gate to wire by 2.5 in the end. EM's Treasure Girl was second, third, Glitter Bay fourth, Saratoga Gaze long way back to a photo for fifth.
And Samuel Marin, leading rider there at Tampa Bay Downs. We talked about him on turf, gets the win in that 9th race at Tampa. Going right over to Oaklawn Park, and we got the 8th race coming up. And Paul, where are we going to go? We got post time coming up, and we got a favorite in the 8th.
On the field in here for Michael Maker, and listen, the horse is the horse to beat in here. At 7-5, you get Ramon Vasquez, who's been riding a lot of Michael Maker's horses, and I don't trust the horse because I do think there's some other horses in here that you can go to, but at 6-5, I understand this horse has got a couple races to go to that would win this race. Now, I'm just going to go quick as they're going towards the gate. Aaron looked amazing, like Mick said. That's going to be my pick. I mean, he was dappled out too. He looks like he can run on turf, dirt. It really doesn't matter. I know he has no wins on dirt, but they've been pretty good efforts. And then the 2 inside horses, the 1 and the 2. I kind of like Mighty Message. You know, the 1's interesting. You guys are mentioning Brad claiming this one for his son. Maybe they're having a little fun. But I will caution you with the 2. I know they're going in. The Delta Down horses have done okay, so I would not throw out the 2 at all. I'm with Mig. I just thought the 7 looked tremendous on the racetrack.
Great stuff there, Paul. As we take a look at the rest of the load, number 7 in Aaron is 5-1. Take a look at the number 8. If the 8 on the field can get the job done, plenty of ways to go. We'll see if the Cox Connections can get it done with the number 1 down towards the inside. Matt Dinneman, race 8 from Oaklawn Park.
Ladies and gentlemen, this race starts and ends right there at the 16th pole. That's the green and yellow pole. So that'll be the finish line, that green and yellow pole for this race. Waiting for Happy Strike in Francisco Arrieta. If he were to win this race, that'd be the 2nd win for Francisco Arrieta. Also, double the day for Manny Esquivel so far. Waiting for Happy Strike. We're ready to go. And Leparoux on the field gets the first call. Mighty Message came out running as well, and Mighty Message snatches the lead from On the Field. And Happy Strike, who's deep on the course in the 3rd position. JT's Imagination is next. Ain't That a Kick? Got squeezed between horses, had to tap on the brakes, and drops to the back. We come back to the lead. Mighty Message, offensive-minded, leads by a length. On the Field on his tail running in 2nd. JT's Imagination 3rd. So the 3 favorites in the wagering, 1, 2, 3 around the clubhouse turn. Happy Strike in the 4th position early. Then Caw Cab just ahead of Aaron. Another 2 lengths to Fight and Ready And Ain't That a Kick is the trailer. 8 lengths off the lead. They're down the back stretch, and Mighty Message is the pacemaker. 3/4 of a length ahead. Own the Field, placed well today by Ramon Vasquez, second. JT's Imagination, third. Down on the rail, racing alone. A length to Happy Strike. Cab, they're side by side. Ain't That a Kick is making an early move, claims the third last spot from both Aaron and Fightin' Ready, who's now the clear trailer. Fightin' Ready only about 6 behind as they go into the far turn. This race will end at the 16th. Paul, remember, it's still Mighty Message on the lead, but he's got company now. He's shaking up Mighty Message to keep going. Own the Field threatening to run a good race here, and Own the Field and Mighty Message kick on together. They open up 2 on JT's Imagination, who's under a ride. Happy Strike outside of him. The others have got to get going. Top of the stretch here. Own the Field as a head lead on Mighty Message. Happy Strike in the 3-path grandstand side, making a nice rally here. Own the Field, Happy Strike exchange a bump with a furlong to go. JT's Imagination gets to the rail, but Happy Strike has the momentum, and Happy Strike is taking command. Happy Strike, Francisco Arrieta with a double. JT's Imagination second across the line, gallops out well too, and then Mighty Message, Own the Field, had every opportunity and was simply 4th best.
And there is the outside runner in the 9 in Happy Strike. You see Francisco Arrieta does get the victory, another victory on the card. Tough journey for JT's Imagination down towards the inside. Right at the top of the stretch, you saw Isaac Castillo had to make a decision. Just got shut off. Might have been best, but the 9 got to the wire first.
Yeah, 9 with that unencumbered run. Had to lose some ground, but being outside, not ever having to stymie or thwart that forward momentum. And JT's Imagination did, but finished resolutely and found his stride again, which is quite impressive. He was wishing it was the second wire.
Again, you saw the tepid fractions, though. 49 second for a half-mile time. They weren't really flying, so you needed to be up close, but you saw the winners and the second-place finisher. They were just kind of right in behind that early duo, just sat the right journey and took either path.
Yeah, not far away. You know, and usually you see pretty fast and contested kind of fractions at Oaklawn, and today, I wonder if the track might not be just a little bit on the slower side. Okay. It is a little bit colder, and because of environmental concerns, Oaklawn can't treat their racetrack, with any kind of salt content or antifreeze to keep it. So I wonder if maybe it's just maybe a touch slow, comparatively speaking. I asked Paul about that.
All right, we'll find out more as we continue on with the card. Oaklawn still got some racing action to go, but we see another winner for Francisco Arrieta. We see another double-digit price. Tampa's wrapped things up, but we still got plenty. And Hot Springs, we're going to talk about these guys more. How about it? Steve Asmussen, the barn, and their winning ways in 2024. When we come back, you're on FS2 on America's Day at the Races.
Down, 350. Here we go. 3 here, 50. Down 4, 8.5 at the back. 1,400,000 stands way in the back. Thank you.
1,000,005 and $1,006,000, $150,000, $1,550,000 and a half. $1,500,000. Jody, thank you. Please hold your applause.
Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you.
Wins convincingly.
Seize the Gray! He's going to seize the day in the Pennsylvania Derby.
Seize the Gray is still there. Seize the Gray wins the Preakness.
These New York-bred foals represent many sires. War Dancer, Salamini, Honest Mischief, Central Banker, but they all have one thing in common. Starting in 2026, they'll be running for the same purse money as Open Company 2-year-olds at NYRA tracks. That's nearly 20% more than they run for now. Learn more about it at nybreds.com.
And welcome back to America's Day at the Races as you get a nice look there at downtown Oaklawn Park there in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's like a nice day down there in Arkansas and plenty of great racing action all season long there at Oaklawn Park. And I've walked around that downtown area. It's actually a very nice area. Tough to get a reservation, though, to some of those restaurants. Very tough to get in sometimes, but talk about that plenty later. Here is the winner from today's 8th race there at Oaklawn. And we saw Francisco Arrieta pick up a victory earlier on the card. Now he picks up another victory here in this upcoming, or this is the wrong name. There we go. That's Happy Strike who got the win there for Francisco Arrieta on the outside. Just got the jump on the one. What did you think from this effort?
Yeah, I mean, he was able to build that momentum. Horses are not like cars. You can't tap on the brake and get instant acceleration. And even though he lost some ground, he had that uninhibited, unencumbered outside trip. So on a run, Happy gets home at another good price.
Yeah, very nice return once again. And you do see those pick threes, paying at that 50 cents. So you're seeing a $500 return. That's a nice return there in those pick threes. And we've got a nice race coming up still in race number 9. We're going to take a look at this 9th race and looking at some of the horses that we talked about earlier in Banishing and Tejano Twist. And Tejano Twist is the one taking all the money right now. 6-5, Rafael Bejarano will be aboard.
I'm a big Tejano Twist fan. I like closing sprinters. This is a horse that's over $1.4 million in earnings, 9 wins, 10 seconds, and he's put together a nice record at Oaklawn too. He does need pace. I do think he gets pace in here, and he's got that closing style. He's a pretty cool horse. Like I said, I'm a fan.
We've seen horses be able to really win from anywhere. They've been able to win on the front end or some deep closers. So I think it's, again, playing a pretty fair track, but we have seen some of those slower times as we talked about. So we'll see how that track does continue to play, not only today, but into the rest of the weekend. And looking at some of the Steve Asmussen runners and some of those big rivals that he had, this is a horse that you got to see up close plenty of times, Cogburn.
Boy, this is speed squared. I mean, he is just super fast. His speed might have been his undoing in the Breeders' Cup, maybe just a bit too much speed that day. But, man, he's a solid horse. You could see why he has that speed. He's got the big engine, right? He's got the huge hind end. Horses don't pull themselves. They push off. He has brilliance. He's pretty spectacular when he runs his A race.
Yeah, he is just a hard-knocking sprinter and very, very fast out of the gate. And as you said, really fast out of the gate in the Breeders' Cup. It might have been his undoing. But outside of just Cogburn, I mean, you saw another winner for the Steve Asmussen barn and taking a look at Society as well. Horse that I've called before, actually, in her triumph. But Society with that front-running style and now doing it very well at that kind of sprinter distance.
Yeah, and showing some versatility too, right? We saw in the ballerina just laying just off the pace, slightly off the pace. I'm a fan of this filly as well. One thing that you see a lot with Steve Asmussen runners, and I think it goes back to the fact that the majority of his horses are broken and trained at his father Keith's training center in Laredo, Texas. They're usually tremendous gate horses. They leave the gate with run on their mind. I think that goes back to their schooling, their early lessons.
Yeah, and this is a horse that when she was that 3-year-old filly and she started kind of just getting older in her campaigns, do you feel like you really start to hone in on what they do best? And now we know that this is what their game is. We don't have to really kind of take a look at some of those classic races that you might point towards, but this is exactly what they're meant to do.
I don't think anybody's immune from getting Kentucky Derby or Kentucky Oaks fever, right? So when you got a horse with a lot of ability, you want to test the waters. You want to see if they have the ability to stretch out. And some horses never quite regain their form when they get back to sprinting. They try the experiment, but they lose something in the translation. The fact that she is able to now hone in, like you said, on what she does best. Yeah. And that's being a fast horse. Nothing wrong with being a fast horse.
Nothing wrong with that. Another fast horse from the Steve Asmussen board. And that's talking about Gun Pilot, talking about some of his efforts and looking at those efforts at Churchill Downs. And this is going to go back to that Grade 1 triumph. Take a look at Gun Pilot. What do you think of this horse for Steve Asmussen?
He's always given me the impression when he has things go the way he needs it to go, you're going to get the best version of him. I like him. He's consistent. He's got that pedigree. Gun Runner has been nothing short of sensational as a sire. And he's a horse, too, that kind of creates his trip, right? He wants to get that stalking kind of a trip. He doesn't give himself too much to do, but he doesn't have to be involved in a fast pace either.
Yeah, 14 starts and 5 wins, 4 seconds, a tremendous campaign. And when you stack him up against some of the other runners that you've seen from Steve Asmussen, it's kind of like, you see another stakes runner, another stakes winner. But these horses are still doing tremendous work with a lot of accolades. But when you come to a barn or come from a barn that's a Hall of Fame barn that has all these great horses, sometimes they get a little bit lost in the shuffle sometimes too. You kind of forget how good they were or are.
Yeah, it is interesting. And if you think about Steve and how far-flung his stable is from, 5,000 claimers to grade 1 performers. And, I think it speaks to his tireless work ethic and his assistants. He's had the same assistants for years, decades. And I think they all are on the same page. They have a great understanding, a great communication, and you need a good team behind you, particularly with as many horses as he has.
Yeah, you definitely need a good team, and you need a lot of good hands on those horses. And a jock that's had a good hand on the horses, he's done it to the tune of thousands of wins. That's Julian Leparoux, Mr. 3000 and counting. We'll talk more about Julian Leparoux and when he moved his tack as well. America's Day at the Races.
French jockey Julian Leparoux has had an esteemed career since moving to the U.S. nearly 20 years ago and kicking things off as a champion apprentice jockey. He followed that up by winning the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Jockey in 2009. The same year, he won 3 Breeders' Cup races.
Informed decision, 2 for Julian Leparoux. They've won the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint.
In 2015, he won his 6th career Breeders' Cup race aboard a filly he considers the best he's ever ridden. 2-time champion and Hall of Famer, Tepin.
Look at Tepin! Tepin! Oh, she was huge today. Mondelez runs a late for second, but Tepin and Julian Leparoux have dominated the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Tepin was always my favorite. She was so amazing.
Here comes Tepin and Julian Leparoux have won.
I think the Royal Ascot win was such a special thing. People were surprised about it, but us. It was something very special, yeah.
Now at age 40, Leparoux is hoping to rejuvenate his career. He's hired a new agent in Jose Santos Jr., and the pair decided it best for Leparoux and his family to spend the winter in Hot Springs for the first time.
I got together with Jose, new agent. When we first got together, we didn't have any plans for the winter. Left it to him to decide where we're gonna go. Yeah, very excited to be here. Be around horses, around the fans. It's always a fun time. Being in the morning, see trainers, seeing owners. It's a whole business that we love, you know, and be around here is, you know, it was a dream when I was 5 years old, so to be able to do it as a job is, it's great.
Leparoux feels right at home back at Oaklawn Park, the site of one of his biggest victories. It was 7 years ago, he guided reigning 2-year-old champion Classic Empire to a late surging victory in the Arkansas Derby.
Here comes Classic Empire trying to run down the new leader, Malagasy. The champ, Classic Empire. It is Conquest Momani Classic Empire! Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him back to the winner's circle. The winner of the 81st running of the Arkansas Derby, Classic Empire, and jockey Julian Leparoux.
Leparoux is embracing his role as the accomplished veteran in a room full of mostly younger riders, and says there's one thing that gives him a leg up on the competition.
I think experience, you know, with age you get experience.
Flat log, a nice effort.
Look, he's been working hard and he's got fantastic touch on a horse. I could give you a list of graded stake horses he's won on for me going back years and years, so always great working with him.
Riding more and more every day, you learn something every day in this business. After a race, when you know you've done everything perfectly, everything went great, it's always a nice thing, you know.
And there is Julian Leparoux, jockey, journeyman jockey, that's seen the highest of highs in the sport. He's really reached the pinnacle, and I think of Tepin every single time I think of Julian Leparoux. But a rider that, you know, is trying something different, kind of trying to reinvent himself a little bit. And as you go through your career, you make some of those changes and shifts. But a rider that can still get it done at the highest level.
Still can get it done at the highest level. He had some success, particularly early in the meeting at Oaklawn last year. You would expect it to get better this year. And Julian Leparoux is one of only 4 riders in the history of the Eclipse Awards to ever be champion apprentice to go on to be champion journeyman, win the Eclipse Award as both, joining Steve Cawthon, Chris McCarron, and Kent DeZormo. Wow. Pretty lofty company.
Pretty good company to be involved with there. And Julian Leparoux got a feel for Oaklawn Park last year and changing agents and really just mixing things up. And Paul, you've had a real opportunity to get up close and personal and talk to Julian Leparoux, and we've watched him for so many years. But just kind of what's been your insight and your take on Julian Leparoux and relocating and the job that he's done there in Hot Springs?
You know, I think he loves it. Him and his family made the decision to come out here last year and then in this year. And I think he's looking for that next step, which is that Derby mount. And I think Kenny McPeek is the guy that can maybe provide it for him. You know, I've talked to Julian many times, and, you know, he does have a magic touch on certain type of horses. And, you know, when he came into this room, a lot of people were like, well, you know, he's a grass rider, he's a synthetic rider. No. He's a champion rider, and he's right. He's got the experience on everybody in that room. You could say what you want. Maybe he's not the best rider for you, but he's got the most experience and the best resume in the room. And when, you know, I got to talk to Julian off air yesterday after or last week after he won a race. And the reason why he likes Kenny McPeek, he made a really good point, and I talked to him about this too. Kenny McPeek was one of the first guys before we had all these rules that debuted a lot of his horses without Lasix, and he still does. And I think that's gone a long way with now these new rules, and these horses have played a little bit better going towards the Derby, obviously with Mystic Dan and Torpedo Anna. I think that Julian's thinking, I can stay along with Kenny and maybe get that nice little Derby mount that he's been waiting for, Chris.
Thank you very much, Paul. And taking a look at Julian Leparoux, and yeah, riders looking at that Derby mount, right? I mean, you see, it's at any point in your career, but especially when you've got to get, you want to get into that winner's circle there, Churchill Downs.
Well, you know, there's a window on every athlete's career, right? And the longer you go, the more that window starts to close. And, you know, obviously you would love to get that on your resume, but there have been a lot of great riders over the history of the game that never won a Kentucky Derby. And I'm a great believer that there's certain things that if they're meant to be and the racing gods are finding it, they'll be. And if not, you've got to just make the most of your own abilities and the best you can do with every individual mount.
Julian Leparoux is going to try and get it done here in this upcoming 9th race at Oaklawn Park, and he's going to be aboard what was a long shot on the morning line at 20-1 in Osborne. But we're going to take a look at this field in just a moment as we're getting set for this 9th race. A couple scratches in here. He scratched in this race. Excuse me. He scratched with Osborne, so he's not going to be in this spot. But 2 scratches, the 1 and the 8, and we're going to start things off with a big long shot in the 2 when we do take a look at this field. But there is the 2 right now, actually. Walter De La Cruz on the 2, Our Last Chance.
Yeah, a horse that I don't view as a win contender, but I do think this horse has a say in how this race is run because there's a lot of speed here.
The 3 Banishing, we talked about this horse earlier, Ricardo Santana Jr.
Turning back to 6 furlongs, good closing effort last time going 7.
Maybe not quite the same in 2024, was great in 2023. There's Rivet.
Well, when you see the good Rivet, he's up involved early in the race. He should be on the pace.
8-1 right now on the 5 for Joe Sharp.
Another horse that likes to be forward. He's more of a stalking type.
And here's the 6, a big number, Bourbon Heist, Steve Asmussen.
Well, I think he's got a great complementing style to his uncoupled stablemate Rivet. He's a deep closing sprinter.
Here is your favorite right now, 7-5, Chris Hartman trainee, Rafael Bejarano, Tejano Twist.
Just a consistent, hard-knocking performer. This is a horse that I fall in love with. He just brings his lunch pail, goes to work.
This is a horse coming off of a layoff. Chris Hartman's got 2 in here, and there's Edge to Edge.
Another horse, when he runs his A races, he's involved early, and you get an apprentice, Tyler Bacon.
And for the far outside, Run Classic is the 10.
Another horse that'll be coming from more off the pace, and I just don't know that he's got as potent a kick as Tejano Twist.
6 furlongs is the distance, $133,000 on the purse. All the money right now is on Tejano Twist. Paul, give us more here from today's upcoming 9th at Oaklawn.
Yeah, this is a good race, Chris. This is basically a mini grade 3, isn't it? And, you know, I'm surprised that Banishing's not the favorite in here. This horse has been on a little bit of a roll here for David Jacobson, and a horse that's in very good form with Sammy Camacho Jr. was aboard. Now Ricardo Santana has the irons. You know, Mig made a good point going through this whole post parade. Every single one of these horses, I know there's a scratch to the 1 and the 8, every single one of these horses has a race on their PPs that can win, at least one race that can win this race. I'm a little bit surprised that the Banishing is not your favorite, just that he's in really sharp form and he's had recent racing. Now, the 7 in here, taking a ton of money to Tejano Twist. He's 0 for 8 this year. But, you know, the last time he got Lasix, he came flying home. It's the first time he's gotten Lasix in a long time. He had Lasix earlier in his career, and then he exploded last time. But do you really want to take him at 3-2? I don't get the board kind of right now. I mean, he's run against the best horses. I get it, but he's going to come out from way out the back of the pack. And maybe edge to edge, his stablemate is the one that tries to press the pace to force the issue for Tejano's Twist, his late run. Listen, this is the kind of horse that's very exciting. If you've never seen this horse run, he's way out the pack and he's going to come flying home. I just don't know at that price if you want to take 3-2 on a horse that's going to be launching from so far out of it. You know, Run Classic on the complete outside has got a couple good races to go to, too, when he was in the Brett Calhoun barn. I liked his race 2 back. You know, the race at Delta Downs over Muddy Racetrack, I'm willing to toss that out. So at 5-1, you know, I think that horse has got a good shot. And I'll probably land on him at the 5-1 price, even though I think this race is wide open. And the 2 in here is a ridiculous price. Our Last Chance. I get it. An Iowa bred. But this horse is blazing fast. You just throw out that race at Keeneland over the turf. This horse is throwing up some big numbers. So I get it. He might not be able to win this race, but at 17-1, that's a pretty good price. But I'll land on the 10 Run Classic in here, but I don't understand why Tejano Twist is the favorite. I actually think Banishing should be the favorite.
Paul's going to go with the number 10 and Run Classic, a 5-1 shot right now, one of those mid-range prices, and talked about quite a few of these in this field where they could step up and get the victory. You know, taking a look at, how about the 5? I mean, you take a look at the 5 and Christian Torres, top rider on the circuit, is going to win a lot of races for Joe Sharp. Coming off of that win last time at Churchill Downs, and we were talking about some of the tracks that you see some of these horses come from, but had faced some rivals in here that are big long shots or were going to be big long shots, so maybe the shape of that race wasn't really for the bettors or for the morning line maker, but this is a horse that's sitting now at 6-1, floating up in price, was the favorite last time, and might actually get the jump on the 7 Tejano Twist. maybe a little closer.
See, that's what I think is interesting, because I think he's perfect stalking kind of horse. He's not going to be involved with the front runners, but he's not a deep closer. He's going to be kind of splitting the middle, right? And he might work out the best trip of all, especially with your perennial leading rider, Christian Torres, aboard.
Yeah, it does seem like the 3 and the 7 might have kind of the same journey. I mean, could you see them? We talk about inside, outside post positions here with this 6 furlong distance. Horses that kind of have that same running style, they're going to want to find an open lane to be able to close into some of those fractions. Where do you want to be? You want to be in the 3? You want to be in the 7? Where do you want to be sitting as they're moving up the backstretch?
Well, the 3, Banishing, still has to show that he can be as successful going 6 furlongs. He's never run this short in his life. The shortest he's run is 7 furlongs, which was a very nice win last time. But 6 furlongs is run a lot sharper. It's only 220 yards difference, but it's run a lot sharper than the 7/8, particularly the 7/8 race he came out of, 23-2, 46-1. He found himself in a comfortable position. He's going to have to work harder to gain that position early, because they are going to go quite a bit quicker. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
And when we don't take a look at times, or we take a look at the finishing times in some of these races, I mean, Tejano Twist, that was a very, very fast race that horse was coming out of last time. When you're taking a look at 6 furlongs at 108 flat, 108-1, I mean, they were rolling, and this horse was closing into those fractions, didn't quite get up, runs the same. I'm not sure we're going to see that same finishing time here this afternoon.
No, I mean, he got real fractions to run into.
Yeah.
Now, the first fraction in a 6 furlong race at Churchill is always fast, because they got a very long run up to when they start timing the race. So they're hitting that timer in full stride. But 43-4 is no joke to a sub 44 half mile. So he got pace to run into. He ran out of ground. Now, he's not going to get that kind of pace here, I don't believe. Paul made an interesting point about the Lasix, though. He hadn't run in Lasix in a very long time, and last time was kind of I thought a little bit of a step forward in his second start off of freshening.
And as a rider, when you're sitting well off the pace like that, do you know they're going 43? I mean, how can you have that mental clock in your head that you know they are absolutely moving up front?
Well, you're judging it by how your horse is doing things. You know, if your horse is working really, really hard to stay within touch of them, they're going too quick. And you have to kind of be clued into that. I don't believe riders in general have as strong a clock in their head as riders that used to. And a lot of it is trainers' fault. They want to put headsets on everybody in the morning and tell them how fast or slow they're working a horse. A guy has to develop a clock, and then he has to keep the clock tuned. Get rid of them headsets. Can't micromanage everything.
Sometimes you have to think about all those tactics. Sometimes you're just saying, get up there and ride that horse.
You got it. You don't want to limit or inhibit the instinctual part of being a rider.
All right, we'll find out what happens here. Great stuff. We got the 9th race coming up. Oaklawn Park, and Matt Dinnerman completes the load. Just a couple more to go, and we'll have a really, really competitive allowance race here from Hot Springs.
Into the outside, Run Classic. Here's Run Classic. Go again. We're ready to go. And Leparoux. Our Last Chance, the long shot, going right to the lead and takes it to him. Our Last Chance quickest and strides 2 ahead of Rivet, who takes the second position. Kavad alongside of him, and deeper is Edge to Edge as they head down the backstretch. Banishing right behind Horses now, 4 off the pace, another length and a half to Run Classic. Bourbon Heist drops back to the second last spot, and Tejano Twist will attempt to do his best running later per usual, void of early speed. They go into the far turn. Our Last Chance at 15-1 on top of half length. Here comes Rivet, though, and Edge to Edge is turning up the pressure 3 deep. The top 3 scramble across the track as they round the far turn. Gap of 2 to Banishing. He's pushed along to get going. Run Classic's making a move. Kavad right behind the mask to tap on the brakes. He's dropped back to midfield. Tejano Twist is being asked to go now at the top of the lane. He's moving to the outside. Tejano Twist, but he is rolling down the center of the track. They're down the stretch. It is Banishing who gets the jump on Tejano Twist, who is rolling down the center of the track. Banishing needs to dig in. Tejano Twist, he's trying, but Banishing's finding more. Banishing, Ricardo Santana Jr. would not let Tejano Twist by, and Banishing wins it at 5-2. Second home, Tejano Twist. Photo for the show, though. Run Classic and Our Last Chance.
And there you see the number 3, Banishing, hold off the charge there from Tejano Twist, and Banishing does get the job done, goes back-to-back winners here, and kind of the journey we were talking about. You saw the 2 shoot right out of the gate like Paul was talking about, and really you saw the tempo kind of pick up, and it was the right fractions for the 2 best closers when we're proceeding the race, and the 3 holds off the 7.
Yeah, Banishing just had a little better position, a little more forward position than Tano Twist, who was well back, which is his style. You know, Ryder can't do anything about that. Bejarano did a good inside-out move on the run-up Tano Twist, but Banishing, I think he's just in awesome form, and maybe this is a horse that wanted to be more of a sprinter type. You know, they cut him back to 7/8, was a great run last time. Cut him back to 6. This might have been a better run this time. And particularly on a track that has not been yielding very fast times, this actually was a fast race.
Yeah, it's interesting that you do point out, I mean, by Go Sapper out of an AP&D mare, so you see a lot of those 2-turn races, some of those distance races, but now David Jacobson has said, let's sprint. They've gone those 7 furlongs, now cutting back even further. Top 2 choices on the board, but the 3, Banishing, does give you a little bit of value there at that 5-2 number. And really, you saw a lot of the horses just kind of run their race.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Our Last Chance exploded out of the blocks, made the lead comfortably, and the race really heated up with the 9 edge-to-edge making a bit of a middle move, a brush move around the turn. That forced Rivet to go, and the race was kind of on from there. No one got to really kind of settle into that position with that middle move by edge-to-edge.
Yeah, Rivet, he's just, you know, just kind of another just so-so effort, kind of a dull effort there, and is trying to get back to some of that 2023 form, but he just hasn't quite found it yet, but that was his comeback to the races.
It was his return, you know, so there always can be a step forward, particularly because he had to get involved so early. He was sitting quite comfortably off of the 2, Our Last Chance, like I said, when his hand was forced by the early move by the 9 edge-to-edge.
All right, plenty of great racing action still at Hot Springs. We're going to talk about this 9th race. We're going to talk about the 10th as well. And we're going to talk about a very special horse that we unfortunately lost very recently here. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Uncle Mo. Indeed, loss of a good one here on America's Day at the Races.
Jackie's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at nairabets.com.
An Eclipse champion by leading young sire Not This Time. Up to the Mark made an impression in the sales ring, bringing $450,000. He then left his mark on the racetrack, a debut winner at Saratoga, before compiling 3 consecutive Grade 1 wins in the Turf Classic at Churchill Downs, the Manhattan Stakes at Belmont, and the Turf Mile at Keeneland. Up to the Mark now seeks to leave his mark as a stallion, standing at Lane's End.
And back here with America's Day at the Races, Hot Springs, Arkansas. We've seen some great racing action. We saw another nice performance there at Oaklawn Park with Banishing holding off the late closing charge of Tejano Twist. And there is winning jockey Ricardo Santana Jr. as he's continued to pick up some nice winners. He was winning some races in New York, winning them there in Arkansas. Paula Duca with the winning rider.
Yeah, with Ricardo Santana aboard, Banishing. Did you get any instructions for Sammy Camacho?
Well, first I need to say thanks God and the boss to give me the opportunity, and I need to give you a lot of credit to Sammy. You know, he called me this morning. I saw him in the barn. He was really excited for the horse. He said, Santana, I don't know if he's gonna feed the 6 furlong. He used win in 7A in Churchill, He said, man, Ryder, when I'm confident, I'll be getting on the horse in the morning. And he said, man, best of luck. I think the horse can win today. And you know what? He did it today.
Yeah, and you were telling me, too, when he got rolling, he saw Tejano twist on the outside of him.
Well, yeah, I was talking to Mr. Jenkinson. I said, the only way we can win this race, I have to get a jump in the horse, you know. And Sammy gave me a lot of confidence this morning, and I was really happy to see him, you know. And he come to me in the break and told me about the horse, and he said, hey, man, Santana, look, the horse doing so good. And right when I'm confident, I think you can win the race today.
Well, congratulations, Ricardo. It's good to see you in the winner's circle, ringing the bell. Sammy Camacho giving a little assist, but this man got delivered.
Thank you very much, Paul, there with winning rider Ricardo Santana Jr. And Meg, you nailed it right on the head there, because even the trainer was saying, yeah, not sure about this shorter distance, 6 furlongs, but now you prove that question, you answer that question, opens up a ton of opportunity.
It really does. And, you know, horses, you know, people have opinions and ideas about horses. Horses have the answers.
All right, we'll find out what happens here. We got the finale coming up, the 10th race at Oaklawn Park, and we take a look at a nice full field in here of 11 in this 10th race, going that 6 furlongs, and these are the races where sometimes chaos can ensue, right? These are where you end up seeing these big prices end up in the winner's circle, but that should be a nice 10th race shaping up.
Yeah, and a big field, which we get a lot of big fields at Oaklawn Park. So they're tough races to handicap, but if you mine that nugget of gold, you're going to get paid.
Yeah, we'll find out what happens in that 10th and final. Still plenty to go at Oaklawn throughout the weekend, but the racing world lost a horse that we're both very familiar with, and you definitely are very familiar with. And on Tuesday, he was the 2010 champion 2-year-old. Uncle Mo passed away.
Yeah, shame to lose him, you know, fairly young for a stallion, 16 years old. A brilliant 2-year-old, was so good. That distinctive running style, right? Head out and down, reaching out, long stride, something he passed on to his most successful offspring. And a lot of times you don't have to look at the pedigree page. You look up and see a horse run and go, oh, that's an Uncle Mo. Same thing like with AP Indy, and you just get that long stride with their head out, reaching for ground. And he was brilliant. First thing I ever did on TV was covering him win the Champagne. I was in that throng some ways. And first Breeders' Cup I ever covered was his win at Churchill Downs. So part of you know, my broadcasting history. A horse that had some systemic problems. Was a sound horse, but you know, wasn't eating properly going to the Derby. They found out there were some things wrong internally. They gave him time, and he came back with a big effort, just missing in what is now the Alan Jerkins.
Yeah, our thoughts go out to Rapoli Stable and, of course, Todd Pletcher and everyone involved with Uncle Mo. But you see success on and off the track, and we talk about his efforts on the track in his 2-year-old campaigns, but really off the track when he got to the breeding shed and the lasting impact that he's left on his progeny and also the sport overall, because, as you said, Uncle Mo, you can see that anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he was able to pass along the mechanics of his stride to his offspring, that efficiency, being able to cover so much ground. You know, he was a horse you'd watch train in the morning, Chris, and he never looked like he was doing anything. And then if you look down at your stopwatch, you go, wow, he's going a lot faster than it looks like because of his efficiency.
Yeah, Uncle Mo, one that we are going to miss. We miss all our racehorses when they do leave us, but Uncle Mo is definitely one that we're going to remember, and you're going to see some more of his progeny still run. But, yeah, as we start to wind down, we'll remember Uncle Mo as he's left a lasting legacy. We'll be back with plenty more and that finale from Oaklawn when we come back here on America's Day of the Race.
Most horses retire 4, 5, 6 years old, but they can live to be 30. Every state that races needs an aftercare foundation. It was all started by Bill Walmsley, so we got together, got with Jennifer Hoyt, we got a website, we got a Facebook page, and we could rehabilitate and retire the thoroughbreds that have raced at Oaklawn.
We started off very slow. I think we maybe had 6 horses the first year we were in the program. Overall, we've probably retired and rehomed over 50 horses. We do ask that every owner that donates a horse into the program donate the horse with $1,000. That just helps care for the horse for the first month or so that we have the horse in our care. Every year we do get some good funding, but it's amazing how quickly that goes during the summer and fall when we're taking care of about 25 to 30 horses. At the end of the 22 race meet, we implemented the Ring the Bell program. Ron Moquette brought it to us. He provided the bell. And so that April, that last month of that race meet, we gave owners the opportunity to ring the bell every time they won a race. And we raised almost $9,000 in just that month. It's now something that they look forward to doing. It's a sense of pride. I'm gonna ring the bell today because that means they won a race. 2 years ago, the HBPA installed an equicizer at Oaklawn, and that's been a huge fundraiser. Trainers pay $10 per horse every time they put it on that equicise wheel, and all that money comes to our program. Each horse has its own adoption fee. We usually set that based on what the horse will be doing in his second career. It ranges from between $500 and $1,500.
These horses have such a great purpose. They want to do something. They want to be a little girl's horse. They want to be ridden. They want to trail ride. They want to event. They want to be a hunter jumper. They want to do something else. And it gives them an opportunity to live a long, prosperous, wonderful life outside the racetrack. But we need that resource everywhere so a person can responsibly retire their horse and have it taken care of.
Great work there in Arkansas, and we talk about stallions and sires and when they retire and go off to the breeding shed, and we take a look at the breeding operations, but this is a different aspect as well. When we talk about lots of horses in their retirement and where they end up going, and you watch a program like that and the aftercare and the importance of where do they go after the races and who's going to take care of them, and also a fun way to also raise some money there for the owners right there in the winner's circle.
Well, absolutely, and they're already excited. They're upbeat because they've won a race, and that bell's right there, and gosh, let's ring that bell and give to a good cause. And I am a great believer that it's our responsibility, everybody within the industry. I know I take it serious because horses have given me everything good in my life, that these horses have a soft landing, a safe, dignified retirement, horses that can't have a second career as, you know, in the breeding shed, but be retrained for a second career or be a nice looking pasture ornament. I get up in the morning, Chris, I look out my bay window, and there's horses in the paddock. And it's a great way to start the day. Winston Churchill said it best. There's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man. And even if you've just enjoyed an afternoon of sport, these horses give us so much pleasure. If you can donate to Aftercare, it's so important to make sure these horses are taken care of.
Yeah, it's really, really great programs across the country, across the world to really have an emphasis on the retirement and what we do with thoroughbreds. And it does take money. So, yeah, when we are asking for donations once in a while, it takes some of those funds just to kick in there to
horses
help
never stop eating.
They never stop eating. I've heard that about me sometimes. Wait a minute. We got the finale coming up here as we get set to close things out. Oaklawn, their 10th when we come back on America's Day at the Races.
They come on for the finish in the Pilgrim Stakes. Annapolis by a head.
It is Annapolis in front. It is Annapolis to win the Coolmore Turf Mile.
Enhance your handicapping with AI Fastbacks, exclusively on NyraBets. Open your NyraBets app, click View Runner Details, and a stat-driven fact will appear for all U.S. thoroughbred racehorses. Download the NyraBets app to start using Fastbacks today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
America's Day at the Races, brought to you by Hillendale Farm, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alepa. Post parade coming up here from race number 10, the finale at Oaklawn Park. Getting a nice shot there from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Paul LaDuca's been down there all afternoon long. We've got a field of 11 getting set to sprint. 6 furlongs, 14,000 non-winners of 2 lifetimes. So looking to get to that winner circle for the second time. And our post parade is going to start here with the number 1 in more than 5.
Dropping in class, taking money for a horse that is 1 for 15 life, and that lone win came on turf.
Big number here, 40-1 on the 2, Fastened.
Yeah, it's just going to have to improve from the current form. Has races in the past that would be competitive, but that was a while ago.
Another big price, Rocco Bowen aboard, our bloke.
One thing with Rocco, you can count on this horse showing the speed. Rocco is a guy that allows horses to run.
Isaac Castillo is going to be aboard the number 4. Will Take Cash, takes the blinkers off.
Takes the blinkers off, trained by Dan Ward, was a longtime assistant to Hall of Famer Jerry Hollendorfer.
The 5, Corridor.
Yeah, a horse that broke his maiden for 10, now shows up against winners, always a tougher step.
Matt Shearer had a win earlier on the card. We take a look at the 6 in here, and that's thanks, Frank.
Yeah, turning back in distance after flashing speed, going longer. So there's a lot of foundation there.
McLean Robertson and Martin Garcia going to team up. Big number, Shaman says.
Yeah, big number for a horse that's been showing speed and stopped badly last time at Hawthorne.
First off the claim here for the Sean Williams barn, Dance Man.
Yeah, claim for 16, waited the time at Del Mar, and now he's in for 14.
There's David Jacobson. Just saw him have a winner there with Banishing Independent Paul.
I'm a little bit interested in Independent Paul, a New York bred by Barry Schwartz's Stonewall Farm.
The 10, Lemon Meringue.
Yeah, a horse that's coming out of Indiana. Canterbury had 1 start at Oaklawn, was not a good one.
The 11, towards the outside, lukewarm favorite here, 5-2 on Rewire.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Should get a good outside stalking trip with Ramon Vasquez, a rider that I really got more familiar with over the summer at Saratoga, and he made a really nice impression, Chris. You know, he made the most out of the mounts he got.
10th race coming up, about 4 minutes showing on the board. Paul LaDuca, what do you think here in this finale? Going 6 furlongs, field of 11.
I don't know, but whoever's doing the playlist right now, they got Taylor Dane going right now. I'm sorry, I had a crush on her. Okay, she had the hot hair way back when. All right, let's get to race number 10 here. The 1 more than 5 is taking money because Gennaro Garcia's horses have been hot at this meet. I mean, he's had 5 horses sent out, 3 have won. I think this horse is taking a little money, but I'm kind of against 1 for 15. You know, the 1 win was over the turf, so. Horse has never won over the dirt. He's got a couple placings. The 1, 2, 3 back is a pretty good race too as well. So I just, you know, at 4-1, I think there's other opportunities in here. Now, you get the 11 horse out on the outside, Rewire. I think he's also a play against. And when you get to a horse like the 8, Dance Man, I think this is a horse that you can play. Now, you know, the California Speed, does it play out or not? We'll see what happens with Dance Man. You get Harry Hernandez aboard. There does seem like there's a ton of speed signed up. So we'll see what happens from that aspect. I think, you know, thanks, Frank. The 6 also from Matt Shire already has a win. They protected him. He's a horse that actually has a decent look in this race. Independent Paul, I was kind of against. And the reason why was, you know, drop for the 16, non-2 in New York in a 7-horse field. and was only bet to 4.5 to 1. So I'm not a fan of him. I landed on the 5 Corridor. I know the horse just broke his maiden, but again, this is for a sharp trainer, Abel Ramirez Rodriguez, who's taking over the training for Carl Broberg for End Zone Athletics. You're getting 9 to 1. I don't think this horse needs the lead to win, so I'll take my chances there at 9 to 1. And yes, Taylor Dane just ended. I'm waiting for Rick Astley. Never going to give you up, and I'll really be back at prom, Chris.
Thank you very much, Paul. As we get set for this 10th race, the Rick Astley shout out.
How can I not pick Independent Paul after that? This is Paul, is obviously very independent, and I'm going to go with a hunch here then with Independent Paul, even though our Paul doesn't like Independent Paul.
Finding prom pictures from Paul LeDuc. You got your prom picture?
Yeah, it was the 1981 Eclipse Awards.
Oh.
That was my.
I
only finished the 8th grade. I never went any further in school. I never
Grade,
went
they
to
had
a
a prom,
prom,
didn't they? They had some sort of dance. Anyway,
no.
Coming back to here, we got a couple minutes, and we're taking a look at Independent Paul. But this is a horse that you did like. I mean, you liked this horse in this race, and David Jacobson, you talked about the win. But a New York bred that had shown kind of not a ton of speed, but just kind of that mid-pack move. Is that really going to work well in here? And how do you get this one to the winner's circle?
You know, I'm honestly just looking at the entire field, and I'm not enamored with anybody. I think the 11 is the right favorite. I think Paul made a good case for the 5 Corridor, particularly at a big price. I was just going with a horse that I thought fit, and, David Jacobson looking for back-to-back wins, and you get an apprentice jockey, so you're getting a 5-pound break in the weights.
All right, there you go. I like that pick in there, and you do see a very even betting board. The action has come on Rewire, and neither one of you really liked Rewire, but the bettors are saying they like the 11 in this spot, so why did the bettors go that direction, but we're kind of fading this one a little bit?
Well, I think for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else. I have a little aversion to picking favorites in lower level races because I just don't know that they're reliable enough, and he is 1 for 18. So can he win? Do I think he's the right favorite? Absolutely. I'm just looking for a little better price, and that, the 9 Independent Paul kind of fit that bill for me for a horse that I do think has a look. Now, I will say, watching these horses, and albeit watching these horses warm up on the racetrack on TV is different than actually seeing them in person. The one more than 5 made a really, really nice impression in the warm-up. I mean, he's 1 for 15, but looking at him from a physical perspective, again, admittedly on TV, he had a look.
Yeah, Paul was making a great point, too, and a horse that was 9th beaten 24 lengths in that last start, 12 to 1 on the morning line, and is now sitting at 4 to 1. I think you guys are kind of pointing in the right direction there. You're seeing something that the bettors are also seeing, and that 4 to 1 would give you the value that you probably think you correctly have here from a horse coming from Churchill. It does have that drop in class. I mean, coming from 20 down to 14, that's a pretty significant drop, right?
No, it is a pretty significant drop, and the horse was in a waiver claim last time. So he was protected coming off the layoff, and you got to like that. I mean, they're not going to protect a horse that they don't want to keep, and I think that's a vote of confidence despite the fact that he did not run well. Again, watching him warm up, I was like, man, that horse kind of gained my attention, and he is taking money.
When you get to the finale, you get to the last race on the day, and you get to claiming types like this, I mean, is it just, let me get you out of the gate? I would rather have you flashing early speed and say, come and catch me, because it's hard knocking horses that have been at some of these conditions for quite some time now, and you do see them trying to get that second lifetime victory. So better to be in front than to be coming from way out of it?
I want position. I want to be forward. I think horses like these that have, only one win in their life, it's for non-winners of one in a lifetime, one other than a lifetime, and they're lower level, they're more easily discouraged.
And we got plenty of racing action this weekend, taking a look at some stakes races too, but taking a look at the track, a fast main track today. Played fine. I mean, taking a look at where you want to be and kind of moving forward for Saturday and Sunday.
Looked like a very fair racetrack, right? Horses were kind of winning from anywhere. It seemed like they could rally on the outside. I don't know if you wanted to be dead on the rail. I mean, it just seemed like, horses were bogging down a touch. But overall, I think it was a very fair racetrack.
All right, we'll see what happens here in the finale. Race number 10 to wrap things up at Oaklawn Park. Matt Darrow is going to have the call in just a moment. But the number 1, more than 5, a horse that Paul LeDuc was taking a look at, a horse that Mig likes here at the desk. And that one's taking quite a bit of money. So we'll see if the 1, more than 5, gets the job done, or will it be the gray to the outside in Rewire? Matt Dinnerman is going to close things out. Hot Springs, Arkansas at Oaklawn. It's their 10th and final.
We wait on Rewire, the gray horse. Here's Rewire. Lemon Meringue still working with that runner to go in. Still working with lemon meringue. Lemon meringue goes in and rewired to the outside post. We're ready to go in the finale. And Leparoux having to take up was Corridor and Shaman Says. Both runners took up at the start. Dance Man up on the pace here. Will Take Cash has speed as well. A very contentious tempo. Our Bloke sent hard, and thanks Frank in the middle. They head down the backstretch. Our Bloke with a head in front. Will Take Cash right there. Dance Man has eased off the speed, is coming back on again to challenge in the 4-path. And thanks Frank is going to take back to 4th, hitting the 4-turn run. Rewire the Gray is next, running 3 lengths off the trio who line up going into the 4 turn. They're flying out there. A gap of 5 to Corridor, more than 5 to the inside. Independent Paul is next, shaking up towards the back of the field, and Shaman Says is the trailer as they round the 4 turn. Dance Man comes away with the lead. Our Bloke gives way, so does Will Take Cash. Rewire's coming on, taking the 2nd position. At the top of the lane, it's Dance Man. Dance Man off the turn in front. Rewire trying in the 2nd position. Corridor's making up good ground, and on the extreme outside, coming on is Lemon Meringue at a big price. Dance Man after the fast pace. The early trio went too fast. They're all tired. Corridor has taken command. More than 5 up the inside. The only one that can beat him, Corridor, and more than 5. Corridor outfinishes more than 5 to win it. Second home was more than 5. Then Rewire. Dance Man faded to 4th.
And there is the 5, Corridor. Paul LaDuca, nice pick there, holding off the number 1 late charge there from more than 5, and Christian Torres right to the winner's circle.
This horse ran a nice race, was outside, and it looked like he was going to get gunned down potentially by the 1 more than 5. But you saw Christian Torres, right? He changed his reins. He eased down towards him, made sure his horse saw the challenge, did a bit more, and a great call by Paul at a big price.
Yeah, 8-1, and you do see that outside move. It seems like that outside move is winning over that inside move, so maybe it's not that the inside is just completely glib, but it's kind of want to be making that outside move.
It just seems like they got a little bit the best of it, but it was a nice effort from the 1 more than 5 who did kind of tout himself on the racetrack in the warm-up. But I love those subtle moves. The art of race riding is subtle. It's not making lefts and rights and big dramatic moves. It's easing a horse down to another horse to meet a challenge, and you saw Christian Torres do that perfectly.
Yeah, we saw some winning selections here from Richard Migliori sitting right next to me, Paul LaDuca handing out some winners, and me rallying on. And I think the voice is starting to come back with every single stride that we do take out. But we're going to be right back here tomorrow with more great racing action as we come right back here on FS2, America's Day at the Races. Our next show, you see it, 3 o'clock. It's tomorrow. We're going to be right here back at the desk. The great racing action. Indy Label was able to get the job done from well off the pace, so you saw Indy Label there in that one get the job done. Banishing was able to win as well. We got some more great racing from Hot Springs, from Oldsmar, and from the desk right here in New York. Tomorrow on America's Day at the Races.